Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
This one's special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies. Two ugly kids at the prom. Buchanan, hello.
Hey, Nuño.
How are you?
Wait. You've never been referred to as ugly in your life, have you?
Of course I have.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it for your appearance or your attitude? You know, like someone says, don't be ugly.
I think both. I think I'm not everybody's cup of tea in more ways than one. But I got a big heart. Just kidding. Sorry, too soon? Too soon? TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Roller Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. He's Olin. I'm David. And today, we turn the page. I asked you...
We're gonna come back with Bob Seger's Turn the Page.
Yeah.
On the bumper music.
Is it true your favorite show back in the day was Heart to Heart?
No, never saw it.
Love Connection?
No, I watched that a few
Chuck
times.
Woolery was great.
2 and 2. Yeah, you know, never was a fan of Jim Hart, the St. Louis Cardinals quarterback back in the day.
The Hart Foundation?
The Hart Foundation, you know, everybody should, you know, be okay with the Hart.
No.
If it's spelled Heart, I'm all for it.
The Hart Foundation was a wrestling team.
Oh, I had
Jim the Anvil Neidhart and Brett the Hitman Hart.
I didn't know.
Yeah, sorry. Anyway, let's move on. We were talking a moment ago about, is it a must win such a weird word? There is no must wins at this point of the season, but it feels like you better win tonight, A&M basketball.
Yeah, I think so, because I'm going to use my old Barney Fife. You know Barney Fife.
Of course.
I'm going to use his line. You got to nip it in the bud. Nip it. Mm-hmm. What you don't want to have happen is the loss on Saturday to affect you on Tuesday, and you lose again. You know, the coaches always say, don't let them beat you twice.
Sure.
You don't want to, A&M has had a tendency, I don't want to say a history, but a tendency to, at some point in seasons, hit a drought, hit a dry spell, you know, plummet for a while.
Sure.
Right? And you don't want that to happen. So you just had a devastating loss where you collapsed in the second half game. We all know you should have won. Mm-hmm. You want to nip it in the bud, turn it around, get right back on track right away. And, you know, you beat, with an amazing comeback, you beat Oklahoma in their place with some guy that's averaging 6 points a game, you know, racking up 34 and nailing three-pointers left and right. And you didn't have Wade Taylor. So now you're at home. You got Wade Taylor, and I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to make a prediction that I think his name's Bryson Goodine.
He's not going to have 34.
Not going to score 34 points tonight.
He might score 35, but he's not scoring 34.
I'm saying he's less than 34.
Okay.
Take it to the bank.
Bank on it early on a Tuesday. Look, I think there's a couple things going on. I think the SEC is really good, like we've said, right? Like that's part of the equation. I think A&M is trying to figure out how to play again, which sounds weird for a team that is as veteran as they are. And I think who they are shows up often. And who they are is not a good shooting team. And when you're not a good shooting team, sometimes you'll allow a big lead, and sometimes a big lead will evaporate. What you can count on from this team is diving for loose balls, great rebounds, heart, all those things, right? You can expect that, and they are a team of guys that I would want to play. Like, I would want to play on that team because it's just guys that are going to fight for every inch. That being said, as a veteran team, when you have a lead like that, you've got to protect it. For the most part, this team has done great in these low 2-point or one possession games.
They're
Right?
6-3.
6-3. We'll take that all season long, right? Like that kind of percentage. But again, because of how I think the Ole Miss game went, which was for the most part, it felt bad until it felt really good, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the Texas game felt really good, but then we're like, is this really them? Are they really this kind of offensive team? And then they showed up to score 25 points in the second half.
Yeah, you know what I thought is I thought they kind of got away from who they were in the second half.
Yeah.
They're not that team that was raining three-pointers in the first half.
Yeah.
What that did was they showed in one game they showed that they can be what they're capable of and what they can be culpable of.
Right.
So they're capable of really lighting it up when they're hot. They're a streaky team. We've always known this. But they can be culpable in that they can also get away from what makes them successful and start yapping and start pushing things that, pushing shots that aren't there and taking shots. Typically, they look to take they look for a pretty decent shot and then go get the rebound and try to get it. And they're patient. I thought they lost patience in the second half.
But I also think you are who you are. And the stats at this point in the season tell you you're not a good shooting team.
That's true. So be who you are the whole game. And I don't mean with the shooting, but be who you are and that you're patient, that you're working hard. And
look, whatever Buzz is doing is obviously working, right? So I'm not questioning that. I just sometimes believe in a more conservative approach offensively when it comes to forcing, getting back to what you're talking about, shots that I don't think are necessarily there or maybe not the right guy.
Yes.
Like, I'm good with Anderson Garcia every once in a while shooting because I think if he doesn't take the shot against U of H, they don't tie that game and go into overtime in the NCAA tournament. I'm good with, and obviously
he didn't have a choice.
He didn't have a choice. I'm good with Anderson every once in a while, keeping people honest, right? Mm-hmm. I am not always so good with a 1-on-4 break and not waiting for anybody and shooting a bad three. Now, Wade Taylor can kind of do it because Wade Taylor, to me, has proven he hits those shots and he can heat check.
Yeah, Wade's different.
Correct.
The same rules do not apply to Wade because if Wade misses one, okay, you're still the best option that they have.
Yeah.
And my issue was you weren't looking enough to the best option you have where your opponent was doing the exact opposite.
They were feeding.
However, you them as a defense were doing everything they could to take away A&M's best option. I don't think A&M adjusted their defense to try to take away Texas's best option.
Little worried. Solomon Washington is questionable for this game. He tweaked his ankle a bit, it looked like, in the game against Texas. And he's a guy that I think has really had a nice stretch recently. He's always been a very nice player. You always can expect a block from behind, alter a shot, some fabulous rebounding.
A block at the free throw line. I mean, at the 3-point line.
Yep. You can expect all that. They need Solo. Hopefully he's out there.
I guarantee you, if he's capable of going, he'll go. He is the toughest guy on that team, I bet.
Yep.
He strikes me that. So if it means taping that ankle up a little bit tighter, I think he will. If he can't go, then I'm surprised he's only questionable.
Number 13 in both polls came out yesterday. I don't care about polls per se because...
Where are they in the net?
I forget the number. 12? Okay.
They moved up.
They moved up from the loss in Texas. Yeah, 1 in 1 week. And by the way, again, we're all... Do you feel the negative cloud like around TexAgs Studio because of losing to Texas?
Yeah, I think there's... had you reversed the games and they went 1-1, Ole Miss and Texas, I think there'd be a difference.
And also, even if Ole Miss was the game you won, but you won it most recently, if and when they beat Oklahoma tonight, and again, it's a big if because Oklahoma's playing well again. They've won 2 straight, and we know they have talent. If they beat Oklahoma today, we're not going to get over the Texas loss. Of course not. But you're going to feel much better. People are going to be a little bit nicer, right? Like we're just going to feel better about the vibe. But when you lose to your rival, you lose the way they lost, and all the other kind of chaos. Look, football season vibes are still lingering in how we are looking at this basketball season, which may be unfair, but But that's the reality of the Aggie community right now, the Aggie athletics community. Like right now, there's a little bit of that cloud the way football ended. Basketball, you're feeling really good, and then you lose to Texas. Baseball's coming ahead. That's going to hopefully alleviate a lot of the issues. Other sports are doing well. But football, I think you feel the vibe of it right now.
Yeah, maybe. You never want to lose to Texas in anything. I found, my first year living in Bryan, that back in '93, I learned right away the two biggest days of the year were Christmas and when you played Texas in football, and not necessarily in that order, right? And then it's Texas in everything. And you want to beat those guys no matter what it is. And losing is bad enough. Losing a game that really could have been huge in just in the SEC race is bad enough. But losing when you had a 22-point lead, now that just sticks with you because it's less about what they did and more about what you didn't do.
Yep.
Because quite frankly, if they would have drained the clock, the 30-second clock every time and didn't take a shot until there was less than 10 seconds on the shot clock, they probably would have won.
Mm-hmm.
All those things just don't sit well. But the best way to get over it is to go out and win a couple games. If they were to win the next two games, and it won't be easy because you got Oklahoma Knight and South Carolina. They don't win, but I'm telling you, especially at home, they are so dangerous. If you can get through this week with two more, then all that will be put aside because you're right back in the SEC race.
Let's faceless opponent. You go 1-1 on the road in the SEC. That's kind of a win of a week.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
If you don't.
Just knowing you're on the SEC on the road for two straight games. Right. It's you're like, oh, okay. Because the reason I say that, I'm going to read this from Jay Billis. He told On3, winning the SEC tournament is going to be harder than winning the national championship because you're doing it day after day and all that stuff and playing better teams through the course of it that you would play in the course of the NCAA tournament.
That's why it's so important to get into that double bye, being the top four. And losing that game against Texas really, really is an obstacle now.
And here's the other thing he says, and I agree with this one. The one concern I'd have in the SEC, there's two things. If you win the SEC tournament, how much gas you're going to have left in the tank after that?
That's why it's not just this year. A lot of coaches every year, if they know they're in the tournament, if they know they're in the NCAA tournament, they don't care if they win a conference tournament game or not. In fact, a lot of them would just rather lose. And then, because you don't know if you're going to play on Thursday or Friday in the NCAA tournament. Do I want to be playing a championship game on Sunday
morning,
and then have to play a big game in the tournament on Thursday, because I'm not going to know where I'm going until Sunday night. Then we got to get all that done with the travel, So a lot of coaches, if they know, man, I know I'm going to get a high seed. I'm not going to say they're going to throw a game, but you might see some starters play fewer minutes than usual.
It's not worth the potential injury, the wear and tear on your body. Like if you want to win an SEC tournament, right? This team's knocked on the door several times the last couple of years, right? You want to win it. But what's the bigger goal? Going deeper into March, getting to, obviously an NCAA championship is the ultimate goal, but being in the conversation for a high seed, healthy, rested for that drive.
Absolutely.
But
if you get that double bye, then maybe if you win it, it's not as physically taxing, because even if you do have to play on Thursday because you only played two games. Okay, get to.
I was just say this area. I don't.
This right here.
Yeah, this.
We need to mark it off.
I see a line right there. It's just we
need put a.
We used to have a carpet there,
like the paint. But yeah, this is a cool zone.
Pharrell paint.
Pharrell paint.
We're going to call it the Holistic Planning Cool Zone at the moment, though, if you don't mind.
Yes, I always say that. Yeah, I need to throw in the name because that's the cool part of it is holistic planning.
They do investments, they do tax, they do estate, and OB they also do.
Well, it goes along with the investments, but you can invest in pro sports like the Barcelona Soccer Club.
2 days in a row, the same joke? You can't do that, buddy.
I'm not joking. You can. You can do Real Madrid too, but you can do them all.
Investinprosports.com. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can call us up 979-693-1150.
The New Zealand All Blacks.
That sounds good. Team. I like that team. Yeah. You ever played rugby?
As a matter of fact, I did once.
Is there video evidence of this?
No.
I'd like to see this.
You know what? I'll tell you something. The rugby guys, they had a rugby club. They probably still do at A&M. Back
They do.
in the
Yeah,
day.
they come here all the time.
Everybody will tell you the best parties ever thrown are by the rugby guys.
If the
'Cause
A&M rugby team
you've
is
got to be a little
listening,
bit crazy to play rugby anyway.
if the A&M rugby team is listening, invite OB to your next party.
I'll do a keg stand.
He actually will. Let's go to a man who's probably done a keg stand in the last year. Nick Savage behind the glass.
Never.
You've never done a
have
keg
I
stand?
ever. No, I've
In your
never
whole
done
life?
it. Correct. I've never done it.
Have you
Everyone
ever
in
done a
here
keg stand for
doesn't
reals?
believe that.
No,
Really?
but you know what I used to do? I used to take a plastic pitcher.
Yeah.
You know, let's usually get it at the old Pizza Hut,
Okay.
right? And I could fill it up about 3/4 of the way, and then I would, this is back in my stupid days, I would chug it without ever touching it with my hands.
Can you show us how you do that?
Yeah, you'd grab it with your teeth, and you hick it up, and you'd hold it with your teeth and chug it. I'm not saying some of it didn't run it,
Yeah.
but that was my party trick.
Can you do that again? I just want to see what it looks like. No, from the bottom up.
Yeah.
Anyway, Nick, how's it possible that of us three, I'm the only one who's done a keg stand and I haven't had alcohol in almost 20 years?
I don't know, but I guess if we have a Super Bowl party or something, I might have to get us a keg and whip out a keg stand. But anyways, looking at the basketball schedule, to me, guys, and give me y'all's thoughts on this, now's the time for them to make hay, right? Because if you look into late February, and I get rankings will change, records will fluctuate, but that from when SEC play started, that like 6-game, 7-game stretch has gotten a lot harder since the start of SEC play. So I feel like the next 4 or 5 games, you got some winnable games. You got to make hay while you can.
You know what? All games are winnable. None of them are check the box because you got it. There's
Are we talking
Georgia.
football or basketball?
Georgia. I'm talking about
kidding.
Georgia.
I'm
Just didn't Georgia just have a big win recently?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
And like I said, South Carolina. If South Carolina was coming here, I'd say okay, I'm going to check that. But go back and look at they haven't won, but go back and look at the scores. The last like 3 scores of South Carolina at home.
Well, I'm going to make sure that, and I know our audience knows this, but if this team goes into a losing streak, don't count them out. And if they go into a winning streak, pause, because there's a lot of basketball left, right?
That's right.
I think at the end of the day, they're going to be fine. Whatever fine is to you. If 3 seed is going to be very difficult, but they are certainly capable of doing that.
Yep.
Are they more a 5-6 seed? I guess this stretch will tell us. I think this stretch here can kind of, if you do really well in this stretch, the 3 seed is certainly still possible. If you struggle in this stretch, then I think we start falling down.
You need to win.
Yeah.
You need to win. Regardless, but every win, I don't care what the team's record is going to be a grind to get.
Yep. Aggies gather at the Angry Elephant, and that's where we're going to go right now to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Reed Neal. Reed, good morning, buddy.
Morning, how's it going?
Good. Hey, did you make your debut last week or you didn't?
No, he did.
I did.
Was it last week?
I did because I took Monday instead
That's
of
what
Tuesday.
it was.
And then Tuesday, I got lucky because Tuesday got weathered out. So.
Well, you did that without me, so welcome, Reed. Happy
Thank
to
you.
have you here, buddy.
Yes, sir.
What's going on with you?
Not much. Just focusing on school and TexAgs Live.
Okay, well, good. What do you got for us on TexAgs Live?
So today, obviously, so we're coming off of, on the good news side of things, we're coming off of 3 tennis wins. Texas A&M's men tennis had 2 back-to-back wins against UCLA on Saturday, Stanford on Sunday, and women's tennis
beating California teams.
also
Yeah,
came up with a win against TCU at home on Sunday. Also, just yesterday, Aggie's women's golf team finished 3rd with Kennedy Adams, shooting just 2 under 70 yesterday in the desert at the Superstition Mountain Golf Course on Monday. Our head coach commented he had nothing but good things to say about the back 9, but he did wish that we adjusted a little quicker on the front 9, but overall, it was a good performance for the team.
Their head coach, Garrett Chadwell, good friend of the show, great dude.
Yeah.
And Mark Weaver, speaking of women's tennis, will be here
Really?
at 9:35.
9:30.
I'm a big Weaver guy.
He's
I love
a
the
dream
weave.
weaver, man.
I may wear a weave during that interview.
Okay, I would like to see you in a weave.
Would you really?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
The long weave all the way.
I told Billy the other day, I want to do a samurai, man bun weave style. I think that would be a good look.
Yeah.
Samurai.
Yeah, I think that would be a good look. You look like that. I'd like to see you look like Janet Jackson back in the day with the weed.
Super Bowl?
Well, and you have a thing for Justin Timberlake, so maybe so.
Well played, OB. So, all right, let's do a no jokes, no innuendo conversation.
Okay.
Like if I were interviewing you,
Yes.
right? Like let's pretend that you were on the Boss Firearms hotline, right? And we're going to talk about something nice, okay? I'm not going to interrogate you about thoughts you've said in the past. I'm just going to ask. Olin, I'm trying to understand. Like you have this love for barbecue, Texas barbecue, but specifically a place that is called 1775.
I love it.
I'm trying to understand the why behind it. Why, Olin? Why 1775?
Why? Because I like it. Because I love it. Because I need some more of it. That's a Tim McGraw thing. Tim McGraw would love 1775 barbecue. You go out there, you'll love it too.
You are great with the microphone.
I get so excited I can't even hold on to the microphone when I talk about 1775 barbecue. I love the pork ribs. Pork ribs speak to me, and man, they don't just speak to me; they yell loud to me. Sometimes they speak sweet nothings to me at 1775. I just love the pork ribs, but you know what? I like the brisket. I like the sausage. I like the queso mac and cheese.
Oh, bro.
I even like that dessert we had.
So I actually was, when you were talking, I was considering doing the carnivore diet. I'm just going to go carnivore. And then you brought up the queso mac and cheese. I was like, nope, can't do that. Got to have a regular diet.
Yeah, maybe they can figure out a way to make what if I put some, what if they chopped up some of that amazing brisket and mixed it in with the queso mac and cheese?
That is when Harry met Sally kind of scene right there,
Yeah,
buddy. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Hey, it is 1775txbbq.com, 979-492-6241. It's 1775txbbq.com.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
As a reminder, the final segment of the program is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We'll hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been around since 1984 here in College Station. Double Dave's, serving up your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. OB, performance of the week.
Performance of the week.
I've got my answer. We're going to go around to other sports, but I got a basketball answer for you.
I'd be interested in hearing that.
Mine is Manny Obaseki. Because the week includes Ole Miss.
Right.
The week includes a really good first half.
A really good first half. I'm wondering what happened in the second half.
Yeah, we won't find out.
No, we won't.
But like to me, Manny deserves.
Yeah, he won. He hit that big three
in basically a game. The end of the the second half of Ole Miss and the first half of Texas. That's 25 points.
If you give him, if you put those two halves together for one game, it was amazing.
And by the way, I'll take those stat lines from him every game.
Yeah.
If you get 12 and 13 from Manny, that's really good basketball for a guy who's probably your fourth option.
Yeah, you can make that argument. Your number one is Wade. Number two would probably be
Payne or Zurich Phelps, right?
Three is Payne.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I would think.
And there's times that he becomes a higher option in the pecking order.
If you're hot, get the ball to the guy who's hot.
Yeah. So to me, Manny Obaseki.
Okay, I can be on board with that.
And he hit the game winner.
Mm-hmm.
He hit a huge three. Played well in the first half. I don't know. Maybe Buzz didn't like something he did defensively. Maybe it's something just matchup-wise he likes it. Whatever it was, he didn't play much in the second half. That's not necessarily why they lost, right? I mean, there was several reasons.
Oh, there were so many reasons.
Right? But to me, I'm not going to forget what he did earlier in the week because of the loss, and I think Manny should be our at least basketball-wise, performance of the week.
Yeah, I agree. You're right. Now, the women had a good week, right?
They did, yeah.
And it seems like I have to admit, I'm not.
Aisha Coulibaly?
It seems like, she had a big week.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you what her numbers were. I'm just trying to remember what I was told by our social center folks.
Yeah.
And it seems like she had a big week.
Yeah. Nick, can you look up what Aisha Coulibaly did in the last couple of games? I know they went 1-1. It was a nice week. But just if you can look up her particular stats. Huh?
This golf girl, Kennedy Adams, she has two presidents' names.
That's true. Yeah.
Actually, three. She has three presidents' names.
What's the third one?
Well, there's two Adams.
Yeah.
John Adams,
I got you.
John
What you're saying.
Quincy,
Yeah. And yeah.
So
Are we going to find out? I don't know.
what?
Let's move on.
Are we going to find out about what?
Nothing.
Coulibaly had 20 against Kentucky and then 12 last time out, but she did go down.
She did get hurt in that game.
Hurt. So still TBD on what exactly that injury was.
Yeah.
Well, somebody on those women's team was having a huge. Maybe I'm just going to give it to. Maybe I'm just going to give it to Joni Taylor.
We like Joni. Team Joni. Yeah. Let's go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Reed, I know you've got a women's tennis and a men's tennis person to add to our performance of the week. Where do you want to start?
So we can start with men's tennis. Theo Papamalamas.
Yeah.
Just on that name. That's the name of the week.
Standout freshman with a 6-0 sweep in the third. He split the first two sets.
Yep.
Which is actually going to send the Aggies to the ITA National Indoor Championships for the second year in a row. And then for women's tennis.
Yeah, the Dream Weaver.
The Dream Weaver.
Your guy.
Yeah.
He's my guy.
Yeah.
He's our guy.
He's my neighbor.
Yeah.
He lives down the street.
So you keep falling down the pecking order of nicest people in town, right? Andrew Monaco.
As nice as people in this town. I'm not even in the order.
I had dinner with people who said you're the nicest in town, and I kind of agree. But now that I think about it, Monaco's ahead of you.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And Mark Weaver's ahead of you.
Oh, without a doubt.
Right.
Logan Lee's ahead of me.
Yeah, okay, 3. Okay, so you're still in the top 5.
Go on and on.
Royce Hickman, okay, now you're...
Royce Hickman is...
Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably not even on the roster.
Dr. Chad Nelson, yeah, you're falling. Yeah.
Mr. Charles at HEB.
Oh, buddy, you're not even in the top 6 anymore.
I'm not.
You know? Everybody at 1775?
Everybody.
Dude, you're 39th on the list now. What happened?
Yeah. I'm
anyway,
so far down.
Sorry, I gave you time.
No problem. Thank you. And then Mary Stoyana and Mia Kupres claimed their first ranked win of the season against TCU. Victory on the court, 3 versus Helena, and Yuchin Tsai, who is 6-3, to secure the doubles point. And then women's also got sent to the ITA kickoff. Yeah.
Good stuff, Reed. Appreciate you very much. Obi, we're going to do this. We're going to hit a break.
Okay.
And when we come back, I'm going to bring up a couple of Aggie football topics. Let me guess. It's never a bad time to talk Aggie football?
Never a bad time to talk Aggie football.
One of those is defensive coordinator Jay Bateman.
Okay.
The other is somebody's expectations for Texas A&M. Not that expectations matter at all in January. That being said, we're going to discuss it, okay?
All right.
Right now, we're talking about the Association of Former Students. You want a job? I'm not saying they're going to hire you in particular, but they are always looking to add to their staff. And if you're trying to move back to the Brazos Valley, you want to get to A&M, maybe that's a great place for you to look because they have openings in several different departments: fundraising, marketing, sales, communications, you name it. They're always looking to add to their awesome team, and I highly recommend you take a look at them. They are the nation's premier alumni association and the oldest organization supporting A&M in part of that Aggie network, right? They want to play a part in every Aggie story from Howdy to here. Don't miss opportunities to help out the association with Howdy Socials, Aggie Rain Day, class reunions, and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies those Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service, all in support of that worldwide Aggie network. So if you're interested in joining the team or know somebody who would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/association jobs to get more information on each position. It is the Association of Former Students. What's on your hip?
A big iron.
Big iron on your hip.
Big iron on my hip.
TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Have you seen a drone in College Station yet?
A drone?
Yeah.
No.
People say that they've been seeing them recently.
Really?
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen one.
Yeah.
Huh. No, I haven't seen it unless it went down.
And apparently, there's drones dropping off Amazon in College Station. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah,
either.
I've seen one of those in person.
Yeah.
Drop one behind the house behind me, and it gets like.
Is it weird?
Dude, they're big drones, and they get like right over top of the house, and they just drop the package. It's kind of crazy.
Huh. I don't know how to respond.
I like that.
I don't think I like it. What if I was sunbathing in the nude?
I know I wouldn't like that either. I don't know if I'd feel worse for you or the drone.
Oh, TMZ, baby. Hey, let's go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center, because there's a question that came up that I think we can kind of, I know, what are you laughing at?
That whole topic.
Yeah, it was a mistake for me to go that direction. I mean, I do it on Wednesdays. It's not even Wednesday today. It's Tuesday. All right, read for us at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center.
David, so Tim from Houston asks, Nuño, why are reporters so afraid to ask Coach Buzz why Manny didn't play in the second half? This month is called Manuary. I don't get it. Is Buzz not a nice person to talk about basketball?
So
he was asked.
Now, he was not followed up because, well, two things. We did not bring it up yesterday in the interview with him. And on the game Saturday, he ended his presser with that.
He said, yes, sir. Carter Carrells of, I got to be honest. Sorry, Carter. I don't know where you work.
247.
247 asked him, and his answer was yes, sir. And then he got up, walked off. So, yeah, I mean, I guess you could have pushed it, but it doesn't matter now.
Yep. And in fact, Nick, if you can do me a favor and find Aaron Glenn yesterday speaking with the media, I thought he was awesome, and I think it frustrated the New York media. They tried to ask him about Aaron Rodgers, and he just handled it like a freaking pro. I would love to, I should have put that in the show prep earlier. I'm sorry, but if you can find that. There are certain, like I knew when I covered Bill O'Brien, if you ask him a question and he didn't want to answer it, he was never going to answer it. So a savvy veteran reporter like yourself, you'll follow up with it, because I've seen you do it with Jimbo. I've seen you do it with Elko. I've seen like that. But there are certain battles that you almost feel like, well, he's not going to answer it, so we just move on to the next topic. And I think that sometimes happens with reporters. Yeah. But he was asked about Manny.
Yeah. And like I said, that was Saturday. Okay, now the focus is on the game
Oklahoma,
Tuesday.
Correct.
And I guess if you wanted to ask about it, we say, hey, is Manny available?
Right.
But then they're going to have now you have the availability that announcements.
Sure.
So there's no point in ask it.
Mike D'Antoni, who I covered for a few years, was really, I mean, sometimes he'd be guarded, was really good about answering questions. Kevin McHale was really good at, AJ Hinch, really good about answering questions. And then there's some that came from that Belichick style of, I'm not going to give you anything. I don't have to give you anything. I'm not saying Buzz falls in that category, but I think Buzz does keep some information guarded.
I think most of the time, in fact, I'd say the vast majority of the time, Buzz is very forthcoming.
Yeah.
Now, I wish he could be a little more concise sometimes, but he's very forthcoming with information. Now, I thought that I thought it was a legitimate question that Carter asked.
Yeah.
And because Manny had scored 12 points in the first half and had one in the second half. And again, you were struggling. So it was, I think he played 6 minutes the second half. So on Saturday, I thought it was a valid question, but Buzz clearly wasn't going to answer. Didn't, and said yes, sir, and walked off.
Right.
So I can't imagine, though, what it was. Because if there was any kind of exchange, I'm not saying there was, but if there was any kind of exchange that led Buzz to making a disciplinary action, I'd be shocked, because Manny is like the closest thing maybe to Rodney Thomas.
Yeah.
In terms of being just a stand-up, really just a nice guy.
Such a polite human being.
So I can't believe it was that.
I mean, look, sometimes it's coach's decision because he sees something that's worth. I love the way Manny plays. Even when he struggles, I like him on the court. And then he's had stretches where he struggled, right? Let's be very fair or very honest. But to me, whatever decision he made a decision. And if there's something that will come from it, we'll find out about it. But it might have been, I'm going with my gut right now. I like this matchup better.
And here's the deal. Look, coaches are there for the press conference. They're there to ask, to take questions.
Yeah.
They are not obligated to answer all questions. Sometimes they say no comment. Sometimes they say yes, sir. And all you can do is ask it.
So I referenced answering questions the way Aaron Glenn did.
Okay, let's hear it.
Have you seen this yet?
I saw Aaron. I read something about Aaron. I saw something. Maybe I didn't see exactly what you're talking about.
Look, watch this clip. What I love about it is sometimes you can tell that someone's not going to fit in an environment. Like New York's a different vibe, right? We can all agree the media's and you can kind of see a coach the first day kind of sweating that. Aaron looks like he's been doing this his entire career as a head coach. Here's Aaron Glenn, or whenever the press conference was.
Aaron, what will your process be like? Will you go meet with Aaron? I know you guys.
We've already texted Aaron, and me and Moose are going to sit there and we're going to watch every game tape there is, and then we're going to look at the whole roster. This thing is not about Aaron Rodgers, folks. This is about the roster, and we plan on building the best roster that we can. So whatever that may be, guard, tackle, defensive tackle, that's what we're evaluating. And listen, everybody's under the microscope. That's just what it is. So we're going to do the best we can to make sure we build the best roster.
That's not the bite I was talking about, but that was a good bite. Mm-hmm. The bite I was talking about was he already answered that question, and people try to get him to tell you more. He goes, I'm going to tell you how it is. I've already answered what I'm going to answer. And he was just, and they tried to ask him again. He goes, I'm not going to fall for it. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you. It was just, if you find that one, maybe we'll play it at the end, Nick. It was awesome. Just how comfortable he was. And even there, it was great. He gave a really, I think, an in-depth answer for that right there.
Looked good in that suit.
Didn't he?
People have their own personalities, right? Yeah. Dan Campbell's I'm gonna bite their kneecaps. I'm gonna
love him too.
I'm gonna do the Monty Python thing, and I'm gonna be down to one arm and still bite you to death, right? Aaron Glenn, he's a little more subdued, a little more calm, cool, and collected. Sure. But what if I was a Jets fan, and I'm not? I'm an Aaron Glenn fan. I have been since 1993. Best cornerback I ever saw.
Yep.
But I'd be like, that would give me optimism. Say, hey, it's not about one guy. I understand that the Jets have had all kinds of problems at quarterback for 2 decades, it seems like. But hey, we're going to get the best roster. I don't care what position it is.
Yep.
That's how you get better.
So I was going to talk Jay Bateman here, but since we've done NFL, I'm going to close with this thought before we hit the next segment. So I was alerted to this from Kay Nagley. You familiar with Kay Nagley?
I am.
She's awesome. From NFL.com, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones on hiring Brian Schottenheimer as the head coach. This is as big of a risk as you can take.
Well, that inspires confidence, doesn't it?
Look, I don't know if it's going to work. It's a huge risk, right? We're doubling down. We're going all in on a guy that I'm not really sure is going to work.
Yeah, to me, he's a retread. I know he hadn't been a head coach before, but he kind of bounces around. And maybe I'm probably being unfair. It seems like he bounces around based on his name because his dad was a good coach and all those things. But,
it's got to be better than Mike McCarthy. Got to be. Who apparently had a horrible interview with the Saints.
But I feel like I'm Kevin Bacon in Animal House, just saying, thank you, sir.
Right.
I have another. Because what about Brian? I would rather, honestly, as a lifelong Cowboys fan, that's a long time for me. I would have rather had Dion as my head coach.
I think I would have too. Even though, I don't know. And we got to hit a break here, but there's a part of me that is really intrigued by Dion and a part of me that's completely annoyed by him.
Agree. But you know what? I would still rather have Dion than Brian Schottenheimer. Because maybe it's going to, I wish Schottenheimer all of the success. But Dion, maybe guys would have respected him, want to play for him. And maybe they will for Schottenheimer too. But your coach is even saying, this is a risk.
Yep.
Your owner, but coach.
All right.
Jerry wants to be the coach.
Let's hit a break. We'll come back with some thoughts on Jay Bateman because some news came out there. Let's talk Bird Dog right now. Aggie owned and operated company creating access to hunting opportunities. If you're into hunting, that's the place to go because they're going to set up everything, all the logistics, and they'll put you on a 5-star ranch. It'll be awesome. They are an Airbnb for hunters. But I also want you to think about those landowners out there that, you're trying to get some people to hunt on your land. Let Bird Dog take care of it. But if you want more money than that, they can help you find those tax benefits on your land. If you're farming or running cattle, Bird Dog's going to help optimize and find you the tax benefits. Many of their clients are making $100 to $500 per acre of land. They can be your personal consultant and help you maximize the income on your land. So if you're a ranch broker, you need to talk to them as they can help your buyer or your seller understand additional ways to make money. You have to sell hunts with this. You don't have to sell hunts with this program. You just have to have land, and they're going to take care of you. The website is birddogit.com. Birddogit.com. Check it out. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live. Pete Thamel reporting Virginia Tech is targeting Arizona Cardinals linebackers coach Sam Sifkus as the new defensive coordinator. He's an integral part of the Cardinals' innovative NFL scheme and brings collegiate defensive coordinator experience, including a stint at Wofford. Which to me means if they do indeed go in that direction, he has some other tweets to follow that up. Jay Bateman going back to his hometown seems to be over, so it's very possible that Jay Bateman will be back next year. I think either way, we know not how this is going to play out, but we know that Coach Elko is going to have a bigger imprint on what the defense feels and looks like. So, Jay, I'm assuming Jay feels like this is a better situation to stay at A&M.
Well, I said yesterday, look, don't judge anybody on 1 year, or typically you don't. I do hope to see Mike Elko have a more hands-on approach to the defense. But we trust Mike Elko to make the best decision. And if the best decision is to take more on to the defense, but keep Jay Bateman in that role as well, then okay.
Yep.
Just let's see results next season. Mike said that we're not going to see defense like we saw lack thereof last year. So, okay, make it happen.
So Nick found that bite that now I feel like I probably, when somebody tells you, this is the best pie you've ever had. It's the best pie ever. And you try, it's like, it's good. It's a good pie. Here's that bite that I thought was a really good bite that you're going to be like, it's a good bite.
Well, it's Aaron Glenn, so it's going to be good.
Here's Aaron Glenn.
Will Aaron Rodgers be your quarterback?
You're going to continue to ask me the same question and get the same answer. We're still in evaluation mode. So for anybody else going to ask that, I'm going to give you the same answer. So don't waste your time. We're clear.
Well, let's answer that. What do you look for in a quarterback? Like, what's an Aaron Glenn quarterback?
A winner. A winner. Mental and physical toughness. When you talk about those, you're not going to get me.
Well, let me ask you this.
See how comfortable he was?
Yeah. And you know what? Aaron Rodgers is going to be his quarterback. If Aaron Rodgers is playing, I bet you he's going to be. Who else they got?
Nobody.
Aaron Rodgers is going to be his quarterback.
Yeah. I agree. I don't know. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers wants to play again, right? That is a question.
Yeah, well, that's different. Yeah, if he's there, but he will. Unless, where are they drafted?
You want to look that up for us, Reed? Where they're drafting? I assume it's pretty good draft pick.
Yeah, I would think so. But isn't it always for them?
Hmm?
What they do is they Sam Darnold. They're seventh. Okay, there might be a quarterback available then. But,
Matthew Dawson says Sifkus is done deal at Virginia Tech.
Okay,
so apparently it's a done deal.
Well, you know what? If Jay Bateman is here next season, you know what, Jay, I'm rooting for you. I'm not going to be against you. I'm rooting for you because if you're successful, A&M is successful.
Yeah, that is true. And I know you weren't a huge fan of the last defensive coordinator.
Oh, no. DJ Smirkin? No.
But the defense certainly improved in year 2 for DJ Durkin. It did. No, it was better than the year prior.
Well, maybe Jimbo said, if you run that 3-man front, I'm going to fire you on the spot.
You get that draft pick for us?
Cowboys?
No, for the Jets.
Well, I think Nick said 7th.
7th? Okay. Thank you very much. Opie, great job, buddy.
It's fun, always.
When we come back, we're going to talk to Justin Lanham, get some thoughts on basketball. After that, got the Dreamweaver, got an Oklahoma Insider, all that and more. You're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Welcome back in. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Talk a little basketball. A&M basketball takes down Oklahoma tonight. I think it's an 8 o'clock tip. We go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. That's where we find Justin Lanham, who breaks it all down for us. Justin, good morning, buddy.
Morning, David. How are you?
Good, man. I know you're a traveling man. Thanks for joining us on the program. So I guess we'll start things off with, how do you evaluate the week that it was leading into the week that it is?
Yeah, I mean, I think multiple people have probably already said this, but it's just a roller coaster, right? But that's what you expect with this, conference. I mean, it's just every game you look at, Vanderbilt's winning some big games, just teams are kind of upsetting people. And sometimes you don't even know if it's an upset because everybody, it feels like there's so much parity. Everybody's kind of equal in this league, it seems like. And so, it's a tough week, but hopefully you have, guys that are even kill, kind of have the steady head and can just kind of move on to the next game. You can't dwell on it too much, and because you got a big one in OU.
Talking to Justin Lanham here on TexAgs Live. Justin, just how did it get away? I mean, I think we all know how it got away. They didn't hit shots. Texas got hot. They didn't stop Texas's best player, Trey Johnson. There's a lot of reasons, but as you're seeing it happen, how did it get away?
Yeah, I think offensively, just things changed. At least for me, just watching it, I felt like they kind of got away from some of the things that they were doing that were making them successful in the first half. I think sometimes you start to play not to lose instead of to win, and I think that can affect you. Kind of playing, that nervous style of basketball, like we got to hit this shot. Texas is going on these runs. I think obviously not getting stops and then them scoring so many times in a row and them, going on a 7-0 run, 10-0 run, whatever it was. I think that obviously affects it. So I just think for me, the main thing was just offensively. I thought I used to say it's kind of like the Oprah offense, right? You get a shot. No, it's your turn. And when you're trying to attack set defenses in the SEC, number one, but also just Division I basketball, it's just not gonna return great results. Like set defenses, whenever those guys can guard you one-on-one and they're not having to rely on help too much, it's just really, really hard to score the ball. And so I felt like a lot of the times when A&M was trying to attack, they're attacking a set defense, meaning they didn't have very many ball reversals. They didn't even have a skip pass. They didn't even have a post touch. And so sometimes that's just really, really hard to score on.
Talking to Justin Lanham here. So, Justin, you've coached. You understand how coaches think. Do you look back at, do you watch the tape and fix the things that went wrong? Do you throw it away? What's the coach's mindset after that kind of game?
Well, I hope that you have guys that, allow themselves to be coached. I hope in those film sessions, because they're going to have a film session. And I'll tell you this, as a player in that game, if you played quite a few minutes in that game, that's going to be an uncomfortable film session, and I hope it is. Just even as a fan myself, I hope it's a little uncomfortable. And what I mean by that is those guys know the mistakes that they've made, and so when you're calling them out in a film session, they already know. I think Buzz talked about this, which I actually liked. He talked about how he's talking less in those film sessions and he's asking more questions, which I think is really good. You're making those guys have to be accountable for what they were doing, right? And as well too, the coaches have to be accountable. It's a team, right? So everybody's got to be held accountable. But in those film sessions, I think you have to be held accountable for, hey, what was I doing? Why did I attack this set defense right here? Why did I not skip the ball to this wide open guy on the backside? Why did we stop getting the ball inside to Payne whenever in the first half of that game against Texas, you're tossing it inside to Payne and we're kind of playing this inside out offense and you're getting some good looks. And so I think there's just a lot of questions that have to be asked. But there's also another game to be played. So you've got to, move forward.
Justin, I'll ask you the same question, but after the Ole Miss game, which really wasn't a pretty game until it was. So how much do you learn from that?
Yeah, and I want to say this too. I think a lot of times people think oh, you lost the game. Like, man, now's the time that you can really be hard on them. Or, oh, you won the game. Everything went perfect. And I think we can see that that's not true. Like the Ole Miss game, I did not feel good about that game at all. The whole entire time that game's being played, like I was actually mad. I was pretty miserable watching that game. And then you watch the Texas game, and in the first half, it's all roses and everything seems great because you're shooting well from behind the arc. And so I just think you can't go in on the guys so much just because it's a loss, and you can't not correct things just because you won. Like you have to evaluate the game as a whole, and you can't just say, oh, well, because we won, we don't have anything to correct, or, oh, because we lost, we have a million things to correct. Like there are going to be good things that you find from that Texas game, and you've got to say, hey, we need to replicate that. We need to continue to do that. And then there's obviously going to be things from the Ole Miss game that you're going to say, oh, that was great, or, oh, that wasn't great. And so, you just got to evaluate each game by its own game. You can't just say as a whole, like, man, we were bad, or, oh, we were good.
I remember the Oregon game, having a discussion with somebody I'm friends with about the game, and just like, I've seen this story before. I remember thinking that in the Central Florida game. I remember thinking that in the Ole Miss game that they ended up winning. I remember thinking that in many games over the last couple of years. So just from your perspective, it's not as simple as I sometimes make it, as you're just missing shots, why they go so cold. But why do we see these tales of two halves, good and bad, so often with this team? And mostly good, by the way. Mostly good.
Yeah, I think I alluded to that a little bit just a second ago of like, I don't know, you get in these moments where it's like, oh, we can't lose this game. And so you start to tighten up a little bit. Maybe things aren't coming as easy. And then also like, hey, at some point you also do have to give props to the other team in the sense of, did they make adjustments and did you not adjust, right? Like, did Texas adjust to some things defensively in the second half that we didn't adjust to? So that's definitely on the table as well. But I think as a whole, playing with a lead, we've obviously done that a couple of times this year. The Ags have done that a couple of times this year and have struggled at times. But then you also see the Aggies have played from behind and come back and won some big games. So I think you're exactly right. A lot of these games have been a tale of two halves, and they've been totally different from each other. And so I think that's where you've got to start, is ask yourself, hey, are we adjusting when the other team adjusts? Are we playing scared, where we're not taking some shots that we normally do, or we're still taking too many shots? Like whatever it is, like I think there has to be an adjustment there.
So Justin, I was going to try to ask Buzz this yesterday, but we ran out of time. The mindset from being the hunter to the hunted, right? Because most recently, this team has had to battle back from double-digit deficits, right? It's not double-digit leads. The Texas game was different. And I'm just curious if you think there is a different mindset. They're a veteran team. I'm not worried about their mindset overall, but just, it is different protecting a lead than it is trying to get back into a game with a chance to take the lead.
Yeah, I've always liked to be the hunter more so than the hunted, and I think a lot of people would say that because I think when you are the hunted, like people get to the mountaintop, but not everybody stays there, right? And so I think that's true just throughout a basketball game. Like you can get that lead, but man, it's really hard to maintain that. You even watch NBA games, and sometimes you'll look at a halftime box score, and whether it's the Rockets, the Mavs, Spurs, whoever it is, they might be up by 30 points, but then the other team comes back and wins. Like it is so hard to maintain games sometimes. And it's the $1 million question as a coach. And it's a tough question, is like, how do you do it? Do you keep playing the way that you've been playing? Do you try to drain the clock a little bit? And so I think you've seen success both ways. So I don't think there's a straight answer to give you, but I just will say that I feel like it's a very hard thing to do to play with a lead.
Talking to Justin Lanham here. So I don't know if you listened to my segment at 8:20 where I did the performance of the week. And I'm not going to tell you what I said, but I'm going to ask you, who do you think had the best week for A&M hoops last week?
Man, that's a tough one. I'll say this. Hopefully this suffices, but I think Pharrell Payne to me has just been. He's just been so good. Like when the ball touches his hands, it doesn't mean that he has to score, but when the ball touches his hands, like I went back and watched the A&M Texas game, and in the first half, when the ball touched his hands, he was able to make something happen, and he was able to draw so much attention from the defense that it allowed other guys to open up. And so I think he's just been kind of the focal point for me. Like, I think he's been so good. He's able to finish above the rim. He's able to back guys down and score off of, moves inside. So to me, like I said, he's definitely been kind of the highlight of this A&M basketball team.
I think that's a great answer, by the way. That's not who I had. I had Manny Obaseki. And my reasons behind it was he played an incredible 2 halves of basketball, right? The second half against Ole Miss, the first half against Texas. He hit the game winner against Ole Miss. And then for some reason, he didn't play much in the second half against Texas. So did you read into that? I mean, do you kind of see where I'm going with, at least mindset-wise, when it comes to Manny?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely something that you look at of like, hey, why did he not get as many minutes in the second half? And I know Buzz, didn't answer that question in the post-game conference there, but it's definitely something to look at. Once I did go back and watch the A&M Texas game again, I did notice that I felt like in the second half he was really pressing to try to get the ball. The ball was kind of sticking in his hands a little bit more in the second half. And so I don't know if Buzz saw that and, didn't like it, or if that's why he didn't get the minutes. I don't know. Obviously, we won't know. Buzz would have to tell us that. But I did feel like he was pressing a little bit, and maybe that was why he didn't get as much clock in the second half.
Were other players pressing, in your opinion?
I thought in the last 2 minutes they were. I thought Phelps and Wade pressed a little bit too much there at the end, and we didn't get good shots when they needed to get good shots and high quality shots. Wade tries to back someone down there at the very end, and then I didn't think we got like a super great look when Phelps drove the lane, and so I would say there in the second half, I thought that there was a little bit of pressing, and look, it's the environment, high intensity. You've just lost a 20-point lead. I'm sure that those guys were feeling that pressure, and so I would definitely say there were some guys that were pressing at the end of the game.
Justin, is there somebody you want to see kind of have the offense run through?
Yeah, I think it's Payne.
Yeah,
I think
agree with
he does. Yeah, I mean, look. He opens up the floor for those guys, and here's the deal: like if you're gonna keep attacking a set defense because we don't have a ton of off-ball movement, there's not much motion going on, and even when there is, sometimes you'll watch, even when there is some motion, you start to see something like maybe it's a set being run and you see some motion. Well, then the ball gets back to the top of the key, and maybe they got the switch they wanted or something like that, and then the ball stops. And so, to me, if that's how it's going to be, and you're going to try to just keep attacking a set defense, then I think you've got to get a post touch inside, because at least now the defense's eyes are going to him. And a lot of the times, like Texas did it a couple times in the second half where they doubled down on him. And now if you can kick the ball out, now you're essentially playing 4-on-3 basketball. And so that's the way you take advantage of a set defense, right? You make them have to put their eyes on somebody, which that's Payne. They go and double. Now you're playing, the other team is at a disadvantage. And so you got to attack that disadvantage.
Justin, you've heard talking about a thing becoming a thing, right? And free throws are a thing. We talk about it on this show. We've talked about it for a couple of years. I think 2 out of the last 3 years, it's been a major topic when it comes to this team. As a coaching staff, though, how do you address it? Because that is such a yips kind of action, if you will, right? Like it's a mental thing, it's a yips thing. There's a lot of things that go into free throw shooting. How does a coaching staff address it? If this team is going to be constantly in 1 or 2 possession games, you cannot shoot 40, 50% from the line and expect to win these games.
Yeah, I think you have to address it by practicing it, right? But I don't think that you can address it too much. There's just such a fine line there. Like, I don't think you can address it too much by talking about it too much. So I hope that makes sense. Like, you can address it by, hey, we're going to do these drills to try to fix that. We're going to put you in situations in practice to try and fix that. But we're not going to sit here in the huddle before practice and go around the room and say, hey, why are we struggling? I just don't think you can do that, because I think it gets in your head too much. You become, like you said, you're making a thing, and you don't want to do that. And I think it's almost, I know this is going to sound crazy, but it almost is going to like have to just kind of correct itself. Like, you're just going to have to see the ball go in through the net. And as much as I want to say too, like, practice is where you're going to fix it, really where you're going to fix it is if you can just start hitting them in games. Like, once guys start to see it go in the game, like, it just it's not a thing anymore. And so I think it just kind of has to correct itself.
Justin, I want to ask you something. You brought up Pharrell Payne and the offense going through him, and I've been wanting that myself. But we're in such a different era of basketball, right? Like, I've brought this up a couple times on the show this week. I love old school in the paint. It's not the prettiest style of basketball. I know you have better shooters now, especially big guys shoot more than they used to. I understand all that. But are there other examples of teams in college basketball that are effective with maybe not their best player being their paint guy, but like the offense kind of, I don't know, 2/3 of the game, 1/3 of the game, kind of funneling through the paint to open everything else up?
Yeah, I think a team like Kansas, you got like a Hunter Dickinson type player where the ball will flow through him, and it doesn't always have to flow through him, on the block. Like, he can be at the high post area, he can be in the short corner, because he's so big and he's such a good passer. And that's the key too. Like, if you can run your offense through a big, but he has to be a good passer as well. He's got to be able to see the floor. And so that's you definitely look at a Kansas type. And I think you go to that too, because, Bill Self is big for kind of creating the, I wouldn't necessarily say, I guess he created it, because everybody steals something from someone, but, he's been big on like the high-low offense, and he's always got bigs that can run that type of offense. And so I think you see it, I think you've seen it in plenty of examples, like a Drew Timme type at Gonzaga a couple years back, whenever they really made him a focal point inside. And so you've got guys like that if you can get the ball inside to them, and you have also the ability to pass the ball out of the post, I think you can be really successful.
Justin Lanham here with us on TexAgs. Last thing for you. So Oklahoma, a game that you didn't look great in until you look great in. Sounds familiar. A team that had lost the initial part of their SEC schedule, but they've won their last couple. What can you tell me about Oklahoma tonight and what the key is to the game?
Yeah, I think you're going to see Oklahoma. I think one thing you're going to see from Oklahoma is they're going to try to protect the ball better. Like, they know that they turn the ball over a lot. And part of that was due to A&M's defense and how well, they trapped and did some things to make them turn the ball over. So I think you're going to see Oklahoma try to protect the ball a little bit better. But I will say this too, like, I don't expect OU to shoot like they did. I don't think you're going to see a performance from Goodine like you did in the first game, or at least I hope not. But also too, I hope that A&M can play a little bit faster. I know I'm kind of harping on it. I know that's probably going to be the theme of me coming on this show today, but like, you just can't attack set defenses. So it's either get the ball inside or play fast in transition. And I think you've got two guards in Phelps and Wade Taylor that can play fast, play under control. You get Manny out there, he can play fast, hopefully under control, and get out and run and get some easy buckets in transition. And then you're not hopefully having to worry about getting to the free throw line as much. It can maybe help your defense as well. Maybe your defense can be your offense, in the sense of your defense is creating turnovers and you're getting in transition and you're getting easy buckets.
Justin, appreciate you, brother. Safe travels back, all right?
Thanks, David.
Justin Lanham there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back, talk to an Oklahoma insider, get his thoughts on what Oklahoma's been doing well recently, and just in other topics about this game in particular. Right now, Fritella Italian Cafe, they have delicious food there made with Italian dishes with love and fresh pasta, golden fried breadsticks, and of course that lasagna, famous cheesecake. They're also a proud partner of A&M Athletics, sharing in the passion for food. It was started by the same family that opened Pino's in Houston, proud to carry on this tradition of serving up the best Italian food in town. Come hungry, leave happy. Fratello's all about good food and great company. Their breadsticks made of homemade bread dough and sprinkled in with Parmesan and oregano, served with marinara, Alfredo sauce, chicken Parmesan, breaded chicken, smothered in marinara. They got so many other things. Fettuccine Alfredo, which I'm a big fan of. Lasagna, baked layers of homemade pasta, and of course the cheesecake is delicious. Check them out, 3901 South Texas Avenue. It is Frutella, all about good food and great company. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Big game tonight for A&M for multiple reasons. Like you had an okay week, I guess, if you're okay with 1-1, because it felt like it should have been 2-0, but on the road, 2 games. Now you come home. This is a part of the schedule you need to benefit from. Let's talk to an Oklahoma insider. He's the beat reporter for OU Insider, Jesse Crittenden, here on the program. Jesse, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man. I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Hey, full disclosure, I practice saying your name. It's an easy name to say, but I can't do it. I'm struggling with it.
No, for one, no, you killed it, for one.
Yes.
And two, especially because both my last name and spelling my first name are things that people have struggled with my entire life. So I throw it off at this point, but you killed it. You absolutely killed it.
All right. And Oklahoma's been killing it. Look at that segue the last couple of games. Won 2 straight after struggling in SEC play to start. What has been the reason for their success recently?
Yeah, I mean, I think as part of it is just the schedule lightened up for them just a little bit, right? I mean, Arkansas, that's a team that struggled a little bit in conference play. I mean, South Carolina, they got at home the game before that. They had a bye week between those 2 games. So I think part of it is just that the schedule lightened up after a pretty rough start to conference play. I mean, they start at Alabama, their first SEC game ever. Then they got to go to Georgia. They host Texas A&M. They host Texas, and obviously that OU Texas rivalry game. You just never quite know what's going to happen. I think it was disappointing for Oklahoma to go 0-4, but at the same time, that schedule was pretty tough. But at the same time, it kind of eliminated their margin of error, so to speak. It's put more pressure on these games moving forward. These last 2 games against Arkansas and South Carolina, they had to have. I think the other thing is, I mean, Jeremiah Fears, their freshman, a guy that's been high up on NBA draft boards really for several weeks now. He had a really rough start to conference play. He's been better the last couple of games. He almost had a triple-double against South Carolina. He led the team in scoring against Arkansas. So I think you saw some of the struggles that you sometimes see from 18-year-olds, especially going through their first conference slate. I think he's bounced back a little bit. And then I think the other part of it is they finally got their feet underneath them. The schedule lightened up a little bit, and now they've kind of got their wits about them.
Jesse, who needs this one more, A&M or OU, and why is it A&M? I'm kidding, but that's what it feels like.
No, I mean, I think it's a good question because if you're a team like A&M, and obviously you've been highly ranked for most of the year, you're hosting a 2-4 Oklahoma team that you managed to beat on the road without your top scorer just a couple of weeks ago. These are kind of the gimme games, I think, if you're a team like Texas A&M and you're looking at the rest of the schedule and just how difficult it is for everybody. So I think in terms of just who should win this game, it should be Texas A&M. They're probably the better team, and they're at home. They've already beat this Oklahoma team. But in terms of prospects of making the NCAA tournament, it's Oklahoma that needs this game more. I mean, and part of how I mentioned earlier, I mean, starting 0-4 in conference play, I mean, they went through non-conference play really well. But when you start conference play 0-4, that kind of eliminates your margin of error, so to speak. And Oklahoma, I think going into SEC play, the thought was they need to get to 7 wins. I think to feel decent about their chances of getting to the NCAA tournament, they need to get to 7 wins. When they started 0-4, it's like, well, where are the wins coming from? How are they getting to How are they getting to 7 wins? And so I think when you combine that with the fact that this is an Oklahoma team that hasn't made the NCAA tournament since the 2020-21 season, this is the 4th year under Porter Moser. They haven't made the tournament underneath him. I think there was he was on something of a hot seat coming into the year with the thought of, well, if they don't make the NCAA tournament again for 4 straight years under Porter Moser, could that bring some big changes to Oklahoma? So all that is to say, I think Oklahoma faces a ton of pressure. I think if they lose tonight, that's certainly, you can't really knock that against them. This is a good Texas A&M team. There are other chances to win, but again, the more games they lose, the more it ratchets up the pressure to get to that 7-8 win mark. And the reality is, if they're going to get to that mark, they're going to have to win a game they're not really supposed to. They're going to have to knock off a higher ranked team. They're going to have to get a win on the road. So this kind of game checks a lot of those boxes for them.
Are they an NCAA tournament team in your mind?
I think they can be. I think when they're playing when they're firing on all cylinders, when they're playing as good as they can, I think they are a tournament team. The one issue, not really just this season, but really under Porter Moser, is this team has really lacked consistency. I mean, even when you look at that Texas A&M game from a couple of weeks ago, that's a game Oklahoma probably should have won. I mean, they were up double digits in that second half. Texas A&M, again, they're without Wade Taylor. And if Jeremiah Fears, he misses the front end of a 1-and-1 late in that game. If he makes both free throws, they probably ice that game. Instead, Texas A&M credit to them, is it manages to steal that game on the road. And, the Texas game the following week, that's a game they could have won. They got down 25 in the first half. They storm all the way back, cut it to 2. Again, if you're thinking about it in the context of games you kind of have to win to really solidify your resume, it hurts to lose those games, right? But we've seen this team that, they beat Michigan in non-conference play. That looks like a really good win. They beat Louisville. They have 3 or 4 non-conference wins that are going to look really good come March. And I think if Jeremiah Fears is hitting on all cylinders, if their role players are doing what they have done at different times this season, I think they are. I don't know if they're a top-tier SEC team, but I think they're a tournament team. But the thing is, are they going to be able to be not only consistent, but are they going to be able to play in games like tonight? Are they going to be able to be competitive and win a couple of games like this to get there? When they're firing on all cylinders, I think they are.
Jesse, Jeremiah Fears didn't have a bad game against A&M. He didn't have a good game either. Like, it was just, he was. What did you see that caused him to struggle a little bit? Was it maybe the pressure of being a freshman and all eyes on you? Did A&M, you think, do something specifically to limit him? Obviously, Goodine had that monster game that opened up, and part of the reason he was so open was because of the attention that Fears was getting.
Yeah, no, you had to give a ton of credit to Texas A&M that game, and Buzz Williams, pretty interestingly after the game, even talked about in his post-game press conference that, Jeremiah Fears coming into the game was number 1 in the SEC in usage rate, and that was. He was such the vocal point of the offense, which is a really rare thing for someone as young as he is. He should be a high school senior. He reclassified to be a freshman this year. You saw in that game, every time Jeremiah Fears ran a pick and roll, Texas A&M was blitzing him. They were sending him doubles. They were making it clear, we don't want you to beat us. We want these other guys to beat us. And you mentioned it. That's why someone like Bryson Goodine is able to go for 34 off the bench. I think OU learned a lot, and I think Jeremiah Fears learned a lot from that game, because I think at the same time, as much as Texas A&M was putting pressure on him, he was playing into that. I think he was forcing the issue. He had several turnovers that game. OU had 18 turnovers that game, and I think part of that was because they were so frazzled by the pressure that Jeremiah Fears was getting. I think he's learned to handle that a little bit better because teams continue to put pressure on him. But look, A&M not only had the defensive game plan, they have the length, they have the size to bother him, and I think that's going to be something, again, to watch tonight. If they're able to kind of get him out of sorts, that really decreases OU's paths to win.
All right, Jesse, I appreciate your time, man. Actually, I'll let you close out with this. The key to tonight's game for both teams, for A&M and for OU.
Yeah, I think for Oklahoma, again, in that game just a couple of weeks ago, it really was just the turnovers that killed them. I think, again, they committed 18 turnovers. They had way more turnovers than Texas A&M, and Texas A&M was able to kind of storm back in that second half by getting easy layups in transition. I think if you're Oklahoma, you've really got to cut down on the turnovers. And I think for Texas A&M, I think it really is as simple as, they shot the ball pretty poorly, especially in that first half. They were able to kind of bounce back in that second half, but still, when you look at the stats, they didn't shoot the ball particularly well, and I thought that was despite missing some open looks. So I think for Texas A&M, I really don't think this is a game they should win. I think it really just comes down to executing, and I think obviously having Wade Taylor back for this game is huge, but they just got to hit open shots, and I think if they do that, Oklahoma's defense has really struggled in conference play. I think if Texas A&M hits enough of their open shots, they probably come away with a win, and if they're able to force more turnovers just like they did a couple weeks ago, that only adds to the ingredients for them. Jesse, thank you for your time, buddy. Take care. Hey, appreciate you, man. All right, breaking it down here on TexAgs, Jesse Crittenden. I did it. I don't know if I did it. All right, your car wash tradition with the friendliest staff and a personal touch is Aggieland Express Car Wash. They've got 2 great locations, the original on William D. Fitch and the newest one there on Texas Avenue South in College Station across from the Planet Fitness. Obviously, they both offer all the wash options that you want, but the newest location offers the full-service wash where they do all the washing for you. You sit back, you enjoy, let them do the washing for you. They will take care of the cleaning, the drying, the vacuuming, you name it, they'll do it. 3 levels of full-service washes available to you when you go to Aggieland Express Car Wash. And if you want to try a basic full-service wash at the newest location, Aggieland Express Car Wash, we're going to give 1 away. That's a $40 value. Give us a call right now, 979-693-1150. The first caller gets a free car wash, 979-693-1150.
All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Mark Weaver is in studio. I have to apologize to you, okay? You haven't been in this new studio. Now, we're going to blame Nick and David, all right? We're going to blame both of us. Welcome to the new studio.
First time in here. It's great. Yeah, you invite me more often.
Dude. No hat? Like, this is, we're all in.
Just changing up things today. So.
Hey, we were talking before the segment. This is like the busy time of year for you. How are things going?
We're off to a great start. Yeah. It's definitely a very busy time right now. Just you kind of go from a little bit of a break over the winter holidays to going about 200 miles an hour right now. But we're off to a great start. We started out the trip. The girls came in January 3rd, and we flew out immediately to Hawaii and got some great practices out there and played some really good tennis out there as well. So, we had a great ITA Kickoff Weekend, and we're playing at a very high level right from the start. So I feel really good about things.
Remind the audience of who's back this year, because this is the team that won the national championship, and I think we have a lot of the same faces that many will recognize.
Yeah, we have pretty much everyone back, other than Carson Brandstein. We have everyone back, and in a way, I feel like our girls have actually taken it to another level. So Mary Stoyanas, our leader, been arguably the best player in college tennis the last few years. So she's back. She started out January playing a few pro events in Florida, and she's back with the team now, and she's playing as good as ever. Nicole Kieran had a great season for us last year, and I honestly think she's playing at another level than she did last year. And we have Mia Kupris, who's had an excellent college career to date, and Luciana Perez. Those are both playing as good, if not better, tennis than they have. And Daria Smetanokoff, who she was actually pushed out of our lineup last year when Carson came back. Daria's playing unbelievable tennis right now, her best tennis of her career. So that's very exciting for Daria. And we have Jeanette Morelos, who's been a mainstay for us, always rock solid for us. And then we have a new freshman, Lexington Reed, who had a very good fall. She's played a lot of pro events on her own, and she fits right in with our team, with what we're trying to do here. So, she's our only new true addition, and she's already made an impact for us in both the singles and the doubles.
So let's talk a little bit about like when they get these pro opportunities, like Mary spending some time, how good that is, not only for Mary, but for others that in that time get an opportunity to showcase their skills.
Yeah, it's kind of a wild one with the way tennis is set up, but a big part of our recruiting spiel is the pro tennis, and we feel like we allow that as much as any team out there. And we, as us three coaches on the coaching staff, we were kind of yanked around quite a bit in the fall season, taking kids one place and other coaches in another place, and maybe another coach is back home with the team when doing a recruiting official visit type deal. And so it's great. Our coaching staff, James and Tommy, are doing a great job, and it's the model that we've had in place here for the last, say, 10 or 15 years. Sure. They really fit in perfectly with that. But it's a great one, the way we're allowed. Mary, for example, she could have easily turned pro after last season, and we've worked it out where she can still work on her pro tennis and get her ranking up at a good level. And before you know it, Mary's season's her career coming to an end here in just a few months. But we've allowed her to really work on her pro tennis while she's been here, along with most of our tennis team.
Obviously, top of mind is this season, right? But knowing that her time at A&M is limited, how important is it for the next generation of players to get some looks and also to be ready when their name is called? I know you don't want to look too far ahead, but that is always part of your job, is right? You're 365 thinking about the now and the future.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's we were fortunate enough to win the national title last year. Then you enjoy that for a few days, and then you're thinking about things, kind of what you talked about, the future of our team. Lexington Reed, for example, she's our lone freshman, and you're looking at getting her opportunities to play, and she's had a lot of opportunities already this season, and that's yeah, like you said, it's all about building up more for next year. I mean, we're going to lose Mary and Jeanette, which will be a big loss for us next season, and yeah, we're looking for the others to continue to step up, and there's some of our recruits coming in and in place, or you're always looking to build for the future.
So let's look back at this past weekend, and you closing it out with TCU. Just where you are right now, like how as a group you're playing and where you need to be. Or you think you're obviously the number 2 team in the country. You're playing extremely well. Are you happy with where you are?
I'm very happy with where we are. I feel like each match we've kind of played this season, the competition's gotten a little bit tougher and tougher. And going into the TCU match, I wouldn't necessarily say I was worried, but I felt like that was going to be a good indicator of where we truly were, because TCU always gives us tough matches. And I didn't do my usual talk with the girls. TCU always battles us close. I skipped that one this year, and we won rather decisively 4-0. And they're a good team. They've got good players all across the board, and we really took it to them quite well, and that really showed me a lot. There where we are. I feel very good. Of course, we're going to keep striving to get to another level, but I mean, compared to last season where we started out, 5-5 last season. I'd like to think we're actually ahead of where we were this time last season. So
I'm going to tap dance against this around this next question, because I don't like pointing things out that are a thing, right? But you all have been really good at home. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to tell you the numbers. Maybe when he leaves, I'll tell you. But you guys have, as a group, has been so good at home. Talk about that, because having that kind of environment here and playing to that level is what championship caliber programs are all about.
Yeah, we've really embraced the playing at home. We've really taken a real sense of pride in that. We're just a very confident team at home. I think just the setting and the surroundings and our crowds that come out, and it's a tough place to play, and a lot of teams don't want to come play us. We've actually had a tough time with the scheduling, but we just really built a lot of confidence at home, especially. We feel like anytime we step on the court, wherever we are, if we're playing our type of tennis, we feel really good about things, but there's just something about playing at home. We just have that extra sense of confidence, and it's just something that we've carried over for quite some time, and I think we've really looked at it as confidence and advantage, not a pressure type thing. So we just seem to be at peace with ourselves at home, and I think the crowd really helps us as well.
So I asked you about it last year, and it's probably the same answer, but with a little distance. How important was that SEC championship game against Georgia? Obviously, it paid off in the national championship. But, for now, that kind of moment in the sand, if you will, what it's done for this program.
Yeah, I think that match just really kind of prepped us for the rematch of the national finals. We took it really tough on the chin there in Athens, Georgia, and the indoor match, raucous crowd. I've never experienced anything like that in all my life, and the girls really felt that. And I think after you've been through something tough like that adversity, the next time you face a similar situation, you've done it. You've done it. Yeah. So it's like it couldn't get any worse than that as far as the feeling and maybe the level that we performed at. And then once you've kind of realized, you wake up the next day we're going to be good. We're good. Yeah. So I really think probably without that match, maybe we don't go on and do what we did at the end of the season last year. And I'd like to think as we're heading in these big matches this year, we can still kind of always draw back on that pretty yucky feeling that we felt. And then, I think that helps. When you talk about experience, that's a perfect example of experience. Sometimes you don't always know what experience means. People say, oh, you gain experience. That was a perfect example of experience there.
So let's close out with the most recent schedule. You got San Diego Friday, is it?
Yes, Friday at 1:00 here. Yeah.
And remind us how last year went, and
Yeah, we unfortunately lost to San Diego last year. We had a little bit of a unfortunate situation. Mary Strana twisted her ankle the day before the match, and just kind of got us off to a rocky start there, and they have a very good team. So we've actually had this one marked on our calendar for a while. We're excited to play them, and I feel really good about things. It's going to be a 1:00 match on Friday. We did that for the weather, and we hope the 12th man will maybe take a little extra lunch break and extra long lunch break and come out and watch us play. But it'll be an important match. Kind of like I said earlier, each match has gotten a little tougher and tougher.
Next step,
That's probably another next step type match there.
And then you're kind of busy afterwards too.
Yeah, we'll play Sam Houston on Sunday again at 1, and then we're looking to leave a few days afterwards. We'll head to the National Indoors. They're doing a different type of format this year. It's a 2-host site. Where Northwestern hosts and Illinois hosts. We're going to be at the University of Illinois, so we'll look to leave likely on Tuesday, and then we'll start on Friday there.
Mark, good luck to you, buddy. Hope to get you back here soon, all right?
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Mark Weaver, Aggie women's tennis coach. We'll be back with a short segment on the other side as TexAgs Live. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. We're going to go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Reed, what do you have for us, buddy?
So, David, Jerry from the large state of Texas says, good morning, guys.
That's his name? Jerry from the large state of Texas?
No, I just added
that. Oh, you added that. I like that.
It's just Jerry from Texas, but I felt like Texas is a little, I wanted to.
Yeah, I like that.
I've got some pride.
Well, there you go. You've moved up the ranks.
Thank you.
You've dropped. Just kidding.
Good morning, guys. Hey, if you're going to be mainly a defensive, get after it kind of team, you have to be able to hit your free throws. There's no excuse. And then to kind of Go along with that from YouTube. Dave says free throws. The key for us is free throws. If we make our free throws, we will win comfortably.
I don't know if I agree with there's no excuse, because it's not like free throw. You can't try harder at free throws, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I bet you they're trying their best.
Yeah.
Right? I bet you they're practicing. Now, could there be something in the preparation? Could it be something that is just these are the players that, like, Pharrell Payne has never been a good free throw shooter at Minnesota or here, and he's actually improved his numbers. You know that Wade Taylor, for the most part, is going to hit his free throws, right? He's career 85, 90% free throw shooter from Texas A&M when he's been here. So, and that's the only place he's been. So I don't know if it's like, while I agree with you, because they're called free throws, right? They're free points if you can take advantage of the opportunity. So I don't know if, like, what was the word he used? Inexcusable?
He says that
I don't know if it was inexcusable or not.
Yeah, he said there's no excuse.
No excuse. Same thing, right? So I don't know if I'd say like, but look, it makes me feel that way. So I feel your thoughts, and I don't have an excuse for them, and I'm not okay with the situation. But I do think they're doing everything in their power to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it takes time to be able to fix it, right? Like, sometimes this is who you are. Like, no matter what I do, at almost 50 years old, I'm not going to be able to dunk a basketball. I'm going to do calf, raises all day. I'm going to, wear those shoes that they had in the 80s that helped you get hops. Like, you don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm going to do all that. But at the end of the day, I'm just not very good at it. I'll get closer, but I'm just not going to do it. I'm not saying that's A&M's story, because I think some of these free throw shooters are better at that. And I think they're doing everything that they can do, but a lot of it's in here. And that's, when you get the yips, it becomes contagious in many spots, especially when it comes to free throw shooting. All right, we'll hit a break. When we come back, Dave Shumate, who's awesome on Twitter. If you don't follow him, you're missing out. We'll break things down. He's on SEC Unfiltered. We get to that, your text messages. You're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner Schuler's Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. SEC Unfiltered's Dave Shumate joining the program. What's up, Dave? Uh-oh. Oh, Dave.
I got you.
Do you? Do you really? How you doing, man?
Good, man. How about y'all? Appreciate y'all having me on.
Yeah, man. Hey, in fact, I think yesterday your name came up on the show. We were talking about like guests that we need to get on more often, and Billy mentioned a lot of people had mentioned you because you do great work on Twitter. You do great work at SEC Unfiltered. And I knew you as a football guy, but I have learned quickly you do a lot of basketball too, man. You're all in when it comes to SEC hoops.
Dude, I am. I mean, I did the Mock 10 stuff by myself for a while, and then obviously Chris gave me the opportunity to come on and do basketball and football. And I used to cover college baseball, but obviously Harrison and Chris will cover that for the A&M fans, all the other SEC fans from the SEC Unfiltered channel. But no, yeah, I grew up loving college basketball. Honestly, I mean, yeah, that's probably my best sport. The sport I actually was real passionate about, but I just fell into the football window and kind of stuck it out for about 10 years. No, I love college, following the sport of college basketball, especially, I mean, hell, it's a historic of a league it's been this year.
Yeah, look, it feels like a broken record, Dave, like with all sports, right? SEC baseball, greatest conference in the history of the world. SEC football, maybe not this year, but every year other than that. And like basketball, but this basketball season is weird that, yes, while every team is good, every team is like legit. You take the top 8 teams in the SEC, they'd be leading other conferences, right? Like for the most part, like,
yeah.
Like how would A&M do in the Big 12? How would Auburn would be great everywhere? Tennessee do in the ACC? You know, like all these schools would be like legitimate leading the pack.
I mean, A&M would finish second in the ACC behind Duke. I mean, think about it, David. We got the 16th ranked team. I was talking about it on my live show last night. South Carolina. I think we all can kind of agree with that. I mean, that's a team, again, they're not a good basketball team. They do what bad basketball teams do. They find a way to lose basketball games. But when you watch them, you're sitting there like, man, where would they rank in the ACC? And we even saw it. The ACC-SEC Challenge, they beat Clemson, who's kind of in that running of the top 3 to 4 team in the ACC. I mean, South Carolina is technically the worst team in the SEC, but if Nick Pringle makes a 1-1, they may get Auburn at home. Granted, Janai Broome went out with an injury that game. At Vanderbilt, who we've seen the last 2 weeks knock off Tennessee and Kentucky. They could have won that game late. Mississippi State in overtime on Saturday. Then Florida, Will Richard hit the game-winning runner on. So, I mean, they're competitive in games, too, now. There's no, just horrific basketball team in this league where you can just roll the ball out and go win games. I mean, I think that's what really makes the league so great. I mean, I was looking at it right now, David. I mean, you'd probably say I feel good about 9 teams that I feel solid that are like, yeah, they're going to get into the tournament. And I'd probably put Vanderbilt, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Texas kind of as those 4 teams that are like, they could play themselves in or out. Maybe some people would disagree with me in Vanderbilt and say they're automatically in, but I'd put them in that group of 4 right there. And then I'd say, tell me if you agree, South Carolina, LSU, and Arkansas are probably out. I mean, they'd probably have to have some tremendous turnaround to get in. So, I mean, we're sitting at 9. I mean, do 2 of those 4 teams go make the tournament? I probably think so. It puts them somewhere around 11, but it just shows you how deep of a league. You're right. This is it's hard as hell to go win road games.
And I forget the stat, but if 11 teams from the SEC got in, wouldn't that tie the most ever?
That tied the Big East from 2010 with the 2010-11. That year, Kimball Walker went on a big run with UConn, and they won it all with Jim Calhoun. And that was like the last historic record, that Big East back then. But again, I mean, a lot of those teams have gotten out of that league now. Syracuse is in the ACC.
And how about this? Would it surprise you if 12 got in? Like they break the record and like, I don't see it because there's going to be cannibalism, right? They're going to beat each other up throughout the world. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
No, it wouldn't. It's going to. I mean, that means 3 out of those 4 teams I mentioned would have to go get in. Again, I think if you get to 8 wins in this league, if you're 8-10, I think you're going to be in because I mean, as you know, Dave, there's no bad losses. I mean, granted, you don't need to go lose at South Carolina or South Carolina in general. You don't need to lose to Arkansas or even LSU. But other than that, especially if the game's on the road, none of those are killers. I mean, let's look at A&M this past week. I know people were down about the Texas loss, but they on Sunday morning when I checked it, they moved up in the net rankings. They moved. I mean, the win at Ole Miss was bigger than the loss you took it. I mean, it didn't hurt you. I mean, obviously in the conference standings race, it kind of hurts you, but like, I think it's just the way. I mean, it just the way you lost is what's worse than the actual. Like, if you told A&M they went to instead of Texas, they went to let's just say mean, what are we talking about? At Georgia and drop one. And they went 1-1 on the road that week, back-to-back weeks. You're that's kind of a win in this league. You can go 1-1 on the road, your back-to-back weeks. I think it's just the Texas thing that was just a tough loss across the board there. And you tell me if I'm wrong, David. I feel like when Wade Taylor went out, I feel like if you really ask Buzz Williams, I bet he was probably like, well, Auburn's not going to collect a bunch of losses in this league. We're going to be missing Wade for probably about a week and a half with the knee, the groin. That probably puts us in a probably behind the 8 ball to go really win the regular season title without him. Because they did. Again, I didn't know where to rank them in my power rankings for about a week because I'm like, they don't have their best player and they lost at Kentucky and Alabama at home.
Yeah.
How am I penalizing there? So, if you made me guess right now, I'd probably say I'm going to stick with my 11 because I'm with you, David. I think those 4 teams, Vandy, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Texas, they're going to cannibalize themselves. And for 12 to make it, all 3 out of those 4 would have to go get to 7-8 wins in league play. I think at least obviously 1. I'm with you, probably 2, and I think we get to 11.
And speaking of South Carolina, which wouldn't be a horrible loss, but they're going to get one of these games at home, right? It could be A&M, it could be somebody. Like they're going to win one of these games because I think they're good. They're just not SEC good.
Correct. Like where would they finish in the ACC, which is legit? It's a legit question right there. A&M, I'm pulling up their schedule. I made it not A&M, South Carolina. Which home game could they possibly steal? You're right. I don't see them going to get one on the road. Maybe tonight could be a little sneaky at Georgia. They're getting 8.5. The home win, I don't think they'll beat A&M at home. Texas at home, very winnable game. Arkansas and Georgia at home, they could get them. I'm with you. I don't think we're going to have a team that goes winless in this league like we had with Missouri last year.
Dave, tonight's game, A&M, Oklahoma, to me, it feels like it's not a must-win. And look, there aren't must-wins, but when you lose to your rival, the way you lost to your rival, considering how close you were to a 2-0 week, considering how close you were to an 0-2 week, by the way, right? Like this Oklahoma game at home with Wade Taylor, who you won without him on the road. And look, Oklahoma's playing much better basketball right now, a little easier part of their schedule. But I feel like this is a bigger game for A&M than it is for Oklahoma because people expect Oklahoma to lose. If Oklahoma can win, they're in the driver's seat. If A&M loses, more of those questions a little bit longer.
No, you're right. I think this is a must-win for Tennessee because, like we always say, it's cliche. You can't let Texas beat you twice. That's where it's. And again, you're bouncing back on a quick Tuesday, quick turnaround, probably off Sunday, and then you really have to lock into the game plan on Monday. I'm sure Buzz and them did. But no, you're right. Tonight's a must-win because you can't be giving up games at home this year in this league because going to get wins on the road are so tough. As A&M saw it last week, again, 2 very close games down to the wire, went 1-1. Probability tells you that's probably what they should have won. But to my point, it's so hard to get road wins. You have to win this game tonight if you're Texas A&M. Again, A&M's fine from the tournament standpoint. They're building on the seed. But you're right. They need to go 2-0 this week. Let's call a spade here. You can't afford to lose to Oklahoma or South Carolina. And then, I actually think A&M's got a decent stretch coming up here where they could get some wins here the next 5. Oklahoma at home, South Carolina on the road, Missouri on the road will be tough, but I do think it's a winnable game. I'm looking at it now. KenPom has it as a 72-71 win for Missouri. So, he's even sitting there saying very winnable game for A&M there. Georgia at home, Arkansas at home. I like A&M at Reed Arena in both those games. Then at Mississippi State, Tennessee, and Vandy. That's when you but I think A&M is in a very good spot to potentially go 4-1, potentially if things line up right, potentially 5-0 down the stretch, which would give them some comfort level, and I think would probably lock them into probably a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament kind of heading down the stretch, and obviously that's where Buzz and them want to be.
And I agree with everything you just said because they're a veteran team that knows how to win in these close games. But offensive limitations. When you think about the offensive limitations and winning, they have done such a great job at figuring it out, right? Especially in the non-conference. They had a tough non-conference. They did awesome, right? And they're going to be fine. But how do you they're not a guarantee to win games because of those offensive limitations, plus of the conference that they play in. So how do you look at A&M as a team, knowing that they are a veteran team, but they do have some of these, droughts in games that either put them behind the 8 ball or lose a big lead?
Yeah, I kind of put A&M and Tennessee kind of in that same boat. Right? I know what I'm getting. Buzz has a phenomenal culture. They're tough. They're gritty. They're going to play defense. They're going to rebound. Similar to what Rick Barnes and do at Tennessee. I've said it all year. The Tennessee and A&M ceilings offensively scare me from a long haul tournament run. If I'm just being honest, it just because you see teams like Auburn, I think, is the most well-rounded team in the league. Not the most talented, I think, from top to bottom. I think it's probably Alabama if you're looking up just an NBA-type team here. But you see Alabama, Florida offensively. You see what Auburn can do offensively. That's why I kind of like them a little more, like from that overall perspective. From an A&M just scares me where it just feels like it's the Wade Taylor show at times or the Zurich Phelps show at times. And it's like, you know what, if you miss, we'll just clean the boards here with Henry Coleman and Andy and the boys and see if we can get some putbacks. I mean, they like to get to the free throw line and get their points there. It's like you said, though, if shots aren't falling, Wade can get into kind of like, I mean, you can attest. He gets into some flows at times where he's taking some bad shots. And you can tell Buzz gets a little frustrated with it. That's what scares me when they maybe go to a neutral site in the tournament. It's like, hey, I mean, we saw it the other night with Auburn. As big of a, I think this term gets thrown around too much in college basketball, but this was true. The rock fight type thing, Tennessee, Auburn scored in the mid-80s. Just some nights, man, it's just not going to fall for you. It's the sport of basketball. But the thing it does travel that I do like about A&M, defense every night, as you mentioned, 8 seniors, and they rebound the basketball. They get to the free throw lines most nights. I think that will travel consistently. Now, Jay Billis brought up a great point yesterday. Come tournament time, the way this league's officiated and how physical it is, you could get some teams into some early foul trouble when we have other officials from across the country calling these as we get deeper in the tournament. So that's something I'd be a little concerned about from the SEC. And A&M fits that team. It's kind of in that style with Tennessee, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, that like they may let play a little, especially at home. Because I think Tennessee is the best team in the country, David, that the refs adjust to their style of play so well where it's almost impossible to go win there because you're like, man, dude, it's a damn football game. Like they're not fouling out. They're letting them hammer them. Tennessee doesn't get in foul trouble because they're at home. They bring that show on the road. It's a little different. It's called a little differently. But I think this league overall, the offensive ceiling, the two teams that scare me from an overall like going to the Final Four would be A&M and Tennessee. Again, really good teams, but like you said, they do have some times where they'll just ghost offensively, and it's kind of, God, where's kind of that flow outside of Wade and Zurich Phelps there? And I like the kid they brought in from Minnesota a lot. He had a hell of a game when against Alabama, and really the whole time with it. Pharrell Payne, he does a really good job too.
Pharrell Payne's a really nice player. And then along with that, and I hate bringing it up, but it's a talking point. We talked offensive issues. The free throws for a team that lives and dies by going to the free throw line because of their ability to rebound the ball. And look, the game against Ole Miss, was it the game against Ole Miss? They went 7 of 9. They were really good, but too often they have games where they're hitting 45, 50%.
Yeah, it's like you said, and that's going to hurt you in a game down the stretch, especially in an NCAA tournament type of. Again, the SEC tournament probably won't mean a lot to A&M, as we see. Like this committee doesn't even really change seed lines. You can either play yourself in or out from the SEC tournament standpoint. Like you said, on the road, you got to hit free throws. I mean, you really don't think about it till the end of the game, and you're like, dang. I'm glad, or whoever your team is, I'm glad we shot 85%. I didn't realize we shot 85%. Like we needed every one of those things. And you're right. You're looking at it right now, free throw percentage. I mean, they shoot 67.4% from the free throw line. It's good for 311th in the league, in the country. So like you said, that's a massive issue across the board there. You got to go take advantage of the free throw, the charity stripe when you get there, especially a team like A&M. It can go cold from times from beyond the arc, kind of outside guys like Phelps and Wade Taylor.
Dave, look, I know they're the team that I watch the most, and I find A&M, and it doesn't matter to be likable, but I find A&M as a very likable team because of that. I'm going to roll up my sleeves. I'm going to dive for every loose ball. The guys are all like just engaging and nice. Dude, from somebody who doesn't watch every A&M game, do you get that feeling that like a Buzz Williams team, these are guys that I can identify with because of the way they attack their job?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Dave. I think I'll be interested to see what A&M looks like next year. I mean, I feel like a lot of those core players on that team have been at A&M since I've been in 8th grade. Like since I was in middle school. I mean, Wade Taylor feels like he's been at A&M forever. My guy Henry Coleman, Solomon Washington. I feel like Jace Carter, Anderson Garcia, all those dudes have been. Manny Obaseki, I feel like, has been there for a while. Like I'll be interested to see what they look like next year. But to your point, like I like watching A&M. Kind of find myself cheering for A&M at times just because I like their style. I like what Buzz Williams represents. I like how. Again, it sounds corny, it's cliche, but I do feel like the players actually do like him and give like, hey, Coach Williams cares about us. He makes us read books and so I don't think that happens at a lot of different places. He wants us to grow as people internally, but we're not leaving College Station, we're not leaving Reed Arena just to go potentially play overseas, or if we're lucky enough to go play in the NBA. Hey, I want to leave with something, and I think that's why kids like coming back and you have that you have 8 seniors on this roster because kids like playing for Buzz Williams in this system. Again, is it limited offensively at times? Sure. I don't think anybody's arguing that. But I do think he's built a phenomenal product at A&M. I will be interested to see that roster turnover next year because I feel like it'll be like almost a new page or chapter a little bit because he's had these guys for so long.
Talking to Dave Shumate here on TexAgs Live. So, Dave, what has Oklahoma done recently that has helped kind of turn their season back around after such a great start, struggled in SEC play, obviously a tough schedule, a little bit easier recently? Are you buying what you're seeing from Oklahoma?
I don't know. It's interesting, David. Like they were undefeated rolling into conference play, 13-0, and kind of got hit in the mouth immediately in Tuscaloosa. Then A&M had the big comeback without Wade Taylor. I think 2 things can be true at once. A lot of people predicted them, myself included, to finish in the bottom 4 of the league. They are much improved, and they still could finish there. I mean, right now, some people probably argue they could, or they will. I think the 2 things can be true at once. They can be much improved, and I like Porter Moser as a coach, but how improved are they compared to the rest of the league? And I think Oklahoma fans will get bothered at times where they're ranked in a power ranking. It's like, we're undefeated, especially as we're going in. It's like, I hear you, but like this isn't your traditional Arizona team. Michigan's probably your best win. I think where they've improved, though, I think some of their scores have gotten more comfortable. Like Jeremiah Fears is a freshman. I think it was a little too big for him when he rolled into Coliseum to open up SEC play, facing a top 5 team on the road. Again, I think Alabama held him to 1 point in the first half, and then he ended up getting like his 15, 16 points. I think they just kind of settled in. I think Jalen Moore's kind of developed into something that they want him to be here in conference play. Jeremiah Fears, again, it's not a great front court. They don't really have any rim protectors. I mean, I would think A&M probably owns the boards tonight. I mean, it's Sam Godwin, I believe, and they got Muhammad Wagee, who comes off the bench at times, who transferred from Alabama, who was just a role guy for them last year. The front court's their big weakness. I like their guards. I think they've just gotten a little better. Again, nothing to write home about really conference win for them outside. I mean, you beat South Carolina and Arkansas, who arguably are the 15th and 16th worst team, or the bottom 2 teams in this league. So, I mean, tonight would be the first one where I would kind of be on like, oh, shoot, they did turn this around. And again, you watch them. They have gotten better since the beginning in conference play. And I think it's just their scores have gotten more comfortable, and it's not as deer in headlights. And I think their non-conference slate, David, they have names: Providence, Arizona. Louisville games age better now. Georgia Tech, Oklahoma State. At the end of the day, a lot of those teams, it was kind of named. Providence is not a great Big East team this year. Arizona's just meh. Louisville's solid. It turned into a better one. I just think the non-con wasn't as great as it made out to be, taking nothing from them. Just think 2 things can be true at once. They're improved from last year, certainly. Still a team that has some major holes, especially in that front court at the rim.
Dave, I forget how you phrased it, but basically Tennessee played their brand of basketball and Auburn still came out the victor. So kind of what that means for Auburn, that the game was not played at their pace, yet they found a way.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. When that game finished and I reacted on Saturday, if you probably went back and watched the reaction, if anybody went back and watched, you could probably tell I was a little underwhelmed with that game. And then woke up Sunday, was doing some other research. I'm like, you know what? I mean, that was a team, it's Auburn. It's used to scoring in the mid-80s. They get their best player, arguably outside of probably Cooper Flagg, the leader for the Naismith Award, and Janai Baroon back from his ankle sprain. And I'm like, man, that was a low-scoring, just true. I mentioned it earlier, rock fight between that. And that's Tennessee style. Tennessee's going to pull you into the bud, and usually they're coming out. But Auburn came out, and I think from Auburn has massive expectations at this point. They're pretty much locked into a 1 seed. I think unless them and Duke, I think, are locked into those 1 seeds unless something drastic happens. So Auburn's got national title aspirations. They got to go win 6 games in the NCAA tournament. As you know, David, basketball, very percentage analytical sport. I talked about it earlier. You're not going to shoot well every night. Even if you're a good shooting team, you're not going to shoot 40% from 3 most nights for the season. So shots aren't going to fall. We can see they can score at times. I think the other night showed if they can get in a tough grind-out game, maybe with a team that kind of plays similar, like a San Diego State, you would see in the NCAA tournament. It's like physical, older group. They just play defense. They can muck it up. I think Auburn proved they can go win that game. Like, hey, we don't have to score in the mid-80s to beat you. We're good enough defensively, and we're good enough offensively when Janai's playing, where we can go beat you in a low-scoring game. And I thought that was kind of impressive. I took a step back the next day. I was like, kind of a little bit more impressed with it now that time's gone by, that you can go play Tennessee style. Because that lined up right to Tennessee. If you told me that was the score right there, David, at the end, and you told me nothing else, it's like, Tennessee probably won that game. And it's like, nope. I mean, Auburn survived it. Was it pretty at times? No. But as you know, come March, when you're in the NCAA tournament trying to win 6 games to win a national title, nobody has to see your mat. Nobody has to see your work when you're doing the algebra problem. They just want to see if it's a win or loss. You have to show your work.
Dave, typically I talk to you about football, so I'll just close out with a football question. the vibe around here has not been great with the way the A&M football season ended, right? And for good reason. 7-1, have a chance for the playoffs or have a chance for the SEC championship game. All that was still in play up until the Texas game. And then you have the USC, the Las Vegas Bowl. When you look at A&M in year one under Mike Elko, and I know that you were critical of the other regime and how Elko has certainly made strides in getting his brand of football there. How do you look at A&M as a potential team in 2025, considering they lost their defensive line, but they're upgrading the wide receiver room?
Yeah, no, I mean, it feels like for years now we've been everybody's been, again, since Jimbo was there, Elijah Robinson bringing in all those defensive linemen. I mean, it's kind of been a strength of the team, not just going in, but it was a legit strength. It wasn't just an expectation. You're right, it's interesting. A lot of those guys left. They're having to really retool that really for the first time in a while. I like the wide receiver room. I really do. I mean, I know what Micah Hudson's probably going back to Texas Tech, but like you said, for the most part, you've added a bunch of explosive players that I don't think we've seen in that room probably since Kevin Sumlin was there. With the way you got a couple of those years, maybe Christian Kirk's freshman year when you kind of had some guys there. I don't mind A&M being like the preseason top 50. I think this whole season is going to come down to Colin Klein has never had the amount of weapons at his disposal that he has on this offensive side of the football now. And he hadn't been used to having to utilize that, even back to his Kansas State. I mean, the best probably player skill guy he ever had at K-State was probably Deuce Vaughn, probably. I mean, I think he's got a couple of guys that could maybe not be on that level, but be very similar. I think he's the key, how him and Marcel Reed continue to develop that offensive system. Again, I know the defense wasn't great down the stretch. I trust Elko will get a good defense. Now, will Jay Bateman be here to help? I mean, y'all probably know a little bit more about that from me reading up on that. But I trust the defense under Mike Elko will get right. They're not going to be the reason they don't make the college football playoff next year. I think it's going to come down to Colin Klein, his ability to develop Marcel Reed this spring, and how can he open it up a little bit, maybe be open to some new more ideas, or it's like, hey, I know what you did offensively at K-State when you had Will Howard and you had all these H-backs, but we got some skill guys here we hadn't had probably since Kevin Sumlin's 16 year probably. So I'm excited about the overall backfield, the receivers. I probably wasn't as high on the Maury Nyblack take as some, but I still think you have some guys that can step up, develop. I like what Marcel Reed. I like his upside. I think he can turn into a guy. I think he's kind of a TBD. I'm excited to see them in the spring, just offensively. Can Colin Klein open it up some? Because you got to, as you know, David, you got to be explosive now in college football. It's just tough to be like the 2020 A&M team that was first and third down conversion. They'd have 8 to 12 play drives with Kellen Mond as a senior, where like they would stay in 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, and just convert. It's just a lot to ask to 18, 22-year-old kids to stay ahead of schedule, and you need a senior to do that. I think in today's game, you have to create explosive plays on the ground through the air. Can A&M do that? We'll see.
Dave, great stuff, brother. Appreciate your time, man. We'll talk soon.
Appreciate you, man.
Take care. Dave Shumate there on the Moss Firearms Hotline. Love his insight. Appreciate his time here on the program. We'll hit a break. Short segment, then Charean Williams. Chit-chat a little NFL. Right now, you're really good at what you do, and Rollo Insurance is really good at what they do. Find out what my family knows and what thousands of other Aggies in this community are coming to understand. And look, if you haven't discovered the relief of Rollo Insurance, you need to check them out, because when you're out, when it comes to gamesmanship, let them be the ones to help you through the process. Go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs and initiate your relief with Rollo today. You can call them up as well, 888-44-ROLLO, or again, go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. Hello, everyone. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. I want to read this. Ian Rappaport reporting that Shamar Turner, a likely top 50 pick, had to pull out of the Senior Bowl after learning that he had a stress fracture from camp that needed a rod inserted into it. It never fully healed. Turner, who played on it all season, was advised to have no impact on his leg for 3 to 4 weeks to let the bone finally heal. He plans to do the combine interviews and perform at his pro day. So that's Shamar Turner is having to pull out of the Senior Bowl. Unfortunate news there. All right, if you want to be a part of the conversation, all you have to do is call or text 979-693-1150. We go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. I know we have some text messages to address. So, Reed, what do you have?
So Ross from the hotline says, do you think it's time to let someone else hold the ball for the last shot other than Wade Taylor?
No and yes. No and yes, meaning you always want your best player to be involved in some way, shape, or form offensively. I bring up a lot of Jordan references, so I know it's 50 years before your time. But MJ, he didn't always take the last shot, but he certainly was part of the offense on the last shot, right? So one thing Wade Taylor is their best offensive threat. He needs to either be a threat with or without the ball. They need to account for him. One of the areas, and I think he's done a really good job of this, his freshman year and sophomore year, I wanted him to be better without the ball, put himself in scoring positions, without the ball. I know you need that ball to score, but, Reggie Miller was a master. Steph Curry's a master of not having to force a shot. He'd come off a screen, find the ball, shoot. I think Wade needs to have the ball absolutely in some way, shape, or form, be some kind of offensive threat. So I'm not against Wade either being a decoy or being the guy who gets the last shot. He's your best offensive player. He needs the ball in his hands. And I'll go back to, OB brings this up often football-wise, and I think he even brought it up yesterday. A&M at Alabama a couple years ago, last play of the game, was a pass play to Evan Stewart that didn't work out, right? And I'm okay with, I didn't love the play at the time, but I understood the play. But Devon Achane was there. I think it was maybe it was 3 years ago already. Gosh, time flies. But Devon has got to be part of the offense on that play as either, fake a handoff at least, play action to Devon. And so my thing is your best offensive player, you've got to make the defense adjust to him, even if he doesn't touch the ball. Let's try to get one more in.
Would you want for the text hotline?
Yeah, you can give me something from Ross. I think it was Ross who had something. Was that Ross?
Oh, we just did Ross.
Okay. Anything else?
Nothing else.
Okay.
Right now, but
we'll hit a break then. We'll come back with Charean the Dream Williams, and we'll talk Cowboys. We'll talk NFL. Well, Super Bowl, not playoffs anymore. We'll talk about the Eagles and Chiefs. We'll get to that and anything else you want to talk about. Right now, though, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet. You can find them on Highway 21 in Caldwell and online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com when looking for a vehicle. Start your search online there. You can look at other places. I think you're just going to be really happy when you go to caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. You'll see what they have. You'll go visit the lot and you'll see, oh, wow, they got this car. It smells great. I love it. Yada, yada, yada. What's the deal? Cool. What's the trade-in? Oh, really? That's the trade-in? Boom. What's the customer service like? Nuño says it's awesome. It's awesome. Okay. What about complimentary pickup? Yeah, we do that. Delivery? Yep, we do that as well. How about the oil changes for life? Yes, as long as you own that car. Those are all questions I've answered for you when it goes to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Remember, it's not a far drive. We're talking 15 minutes, the edge of Bryant to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. And we are back on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go straight to the Boss Firearms Hotline. We're joined by Charean Williams of Pro Football Talk, the Aggie Hall of Famer, the good friend of the program. Charean, how are you?
I'm good. How are y'all doing today?
I'm good. Look, I'm going to start off with the Jets thing because I love Aaron Glenn. I hope I didn't overrate it, but I thought his press conference yesterday and his afterword with the scrum was fantastic. What was your takeaway from what AG did and said yesterday?
Yeah, I was impressed, and I think everyone else was impressed. He got great reviews in New York, which is tough to do, and he got that. He did very, very well, and I think anybody who knows him, going back to his playing days at A&M and beyond that, knew what the Jets were getting, and I think he's shown that already. Now they're going to have to do things well from a personnel side to get him some more personnel on there that he can win with, especially at the quarterback position. But we all know he can coach and he can command a room, his leadership, and all those sorts of things. And I love the story, and I knew it, but he told it that when he wanted to get into coaching, he talked to Bill Parcells, and Parcells said, all right, and start out as a scout. And he says, no, you don't understand. I don't want to be a scout. I want to be a coach. And Parcells says, no, you don't understand. The best coaches are the guys who can best evaluate players. You start as a scout, and then you become a coach. And I think that's helped Aaron Glenn in his career, and I think it will help him as a head coach because he will know how to evaluate talent, know what he wants in players when we get to free agency in the draft and all those sorts of things.
Talking to Charean Williams here on TexAgs Live. All right, Charean, so we go from that to how Jerry Jones phrased the hiring of Schottenheimer as, the biggest risk, or he knows how big of a risk it is. Like that didn't seem to really put a lot of confidence in his new head coach.
Yeah, it was a weird press conference. I don't know. And why do you need, really, you don't need the owner and you don't need all those people there. It's Aaron Glenn standing up at the podium talking. That's what we should have been hearing yesterday from the Cowboys is Brian Schottenheimer up at the podium by himself, talking and answering questions. And, Schottenheimer is impressive. I'll say that. You can tell why the players love him and why he's a good leader and all those sorts of things. Can he win? I don't know. I don't know about nobody knows about the hire. And it is, Jerry's right in that it is a risk because he's never been a head coach before. But, the process that the Cowboys went through to get to here is the problem I have and the problem everyone has. Just the way they went about it, the people they interviewed or didn't interview. I mean, Aaron Glenn, now, he looked like he was set for the Jets and really wanted to go to the Jets. But if you're the Cowboys, you have a relationship with their Aaron Glenn. You at least make that phone call to interview him, and they didn't even take that step to do that. So, and there were a lot of them. When you talk about Ben Johnson or Pete Carroll or Deion Sanders or whoever you want to talk about, just the process they went through to get to where they got. To me, it was almost like Mike McCarthy walked away. Okay, well, we're just going to elevate Brian Schottenheimer, but we got to make this look like a legitimate search because you got to comply with the Rooney Rule. So let's just spread this out over a week and a half, and then we'll name Schottenheimer the head coach. That's the way it came across, whether it was like that or not. That's the way it looks from the outside. And just that press conference by Jerry, and Stephen was even worse than Jerry. It just was not good. It was just not a good picture that the franchise painted for itself in that press conference yesterday.
Well, and what do we think about Schottenheimer? Because I feel like because Jerry Jones set such a bleh, I don't want to say negative, but bleh tone to it. But this is a guy who's got some credentials that, I mean, he's been on lists before to be a head coach. So what do we think about the hire itself?
I don't know. Like I said, you don't know about the guys who haven't been head coaches before. You just don't know how they're going to work out. And, Dan Campbell worked out great. And, I think people who've known him for a long time know whether they can be a head coach or not. I mean, I knew Dan Campbell was going to be a really good head coach. I think Jason Witten will be a very good head coach. I've been wrong on some, but you just kind of see it, in these guys, the way their leadership qualities and also those sorts of things. I haven't been around Schottenheimer enough to have seen it, but it was impressive to me that as many players showed up at the news conference as did, and that included Dak Prescott. And Dak Prescott wanted Brian Schottenheimer, and I think that says something. Not that your players should pick your head coach, but the fact that they're happy with the hire, I think, means something, and I think it'll help the Cowboys in the long run. He's got a chance. What worries you, obviously, he's bounced around so many franchises. His offenses, frankly, have not been good when he's been the play caller, and he is going to be the play caller. But I like some of the things I heard from him about things that they're going to do that, McCarthy didn't do. And I think that's really exciting, that the offense will change some. But, again, it's sort of like the Jets. They got to get personnel. There's a reason that these teams change head coaches, and if you don't have the personnel, you're not going to win. And the Cowboys, they have some stars, but they don't have much behind those superstars at a few key positions. So they've really got to up the personnel this offseason. And I think probably the most encouraging thing for that press conference was they sound like they will spend money on free agency this offseason. We'll see, but that's what it sounded like, more so than what they've said in the past, which is what they need to do to improve the personnel and the depth on this franchise.
Charean, do you think Gerard Johnson will be the Texans offensive coordinator or an offensive coordinator somewhere else next season?
I do. I think he'll be with the Texans. I think he'll be the offensive coordinator with the Texans. And he's one, I think, again, I've seen enough. I think he will be very good at it, having been around him a little bit. And I talked to him in Canton in August for a while. We talked for 20 or 30 minutes. And I just really like some of the ideas that he has and the route that he's taken to get where he's gotten, the fact that he was a quarterback. I think all those things help. I think he'll be very good. Again, you don't know for sure until they get into the job and do it, but I think he'll be very good, and I think he's had enough of training that he knows what is good and what is bad and what he needs to change from what they did last year, and knowing the personnel there, I think will really help him. So I do. I think he will be the next offensive coordinator of the Texans.
Charean, I saw Lance Zierlein from Houston, NFL.com, kind of float the idea that maybe the Texans would be interested in a new stadium, maybe because of the new team president. I know they moved on from Greg Grissom. It seems like it's like the NRG is new, but I guess it isn't new, Charean. Is that maybe a possibility in today's NFL world of stadiums that happen in this century being upgraded or a newer one?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough ask for Houston to pony up some money for a new stadium. That's going to be a really, really tough ask. And I don't know that the stadium is that old at this point that even be something that, if you went and asked the citizens of Harris County, hey, can we count on you for a, half-cent sales tax, or however they're going to plan to pay for that, I don't know. I mean, I may even balk at that because, that stadium is still in relatively good shape. I understand what he's saying, but, that's just a tough ask for Houston. I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. And I don't know how you pay for it. I think that people are tired of paying for stadiums for billionaires, and they should be. These billionaires have enough money to pay for their own stadium. Make them pay for the stadium, and make them build. Maybe give them the land or give them tax breaks or something like that. But let them build their own stadium. That's the way it should be. And I think you're starting to see some cities really balk at these things, and I'm not sure that's a bad thing that's happening. So I cannot see that happening anytime soon.
Charean Williams with us here on TexAgs Live. Charean, I remember a couple years ago, it wasn't that long ago, like when people started comparing Mahomes to Brady, I'm like, slow down. Let him get the 3-4 Super Bowls, and then we can. And this guy's got a chance for a three-peat. Like it's quite incredible. And I think different circumstances. Brady did it during different eras. I don't know if I'm ready to say that about Mahomes, but my goodness, he's making a case for it, isn't he?
Yeah, no question about it. I look at it and I go, how did Texas Tech have a losing record with this guy? How did they not win a national championship with this guy? They had Cliff Kingsbury coach and Patrick Mahomes the quarterback. How did that not happen? Seriously. So it would have been interesting in this NIL age, would he have stayed at Texas Tech? Now, he's a guy I think might have stayed, regardless, and they would have paid him. But it's really interesting that they couldn't win with him. But back to your point, he's better than Brady at this point in Brady's career. I'm not ready to say he's the GOAT yet, just because of how long Brady did it, and he was, winning Super Bowls at the end of his career. So I'm not ready to give him the GOAT title yet, but it's really close. And if you take to where Mahomes is in his career now and compare that to where Brady was at this point in his career, Mahomes is better and has been better. And, the low point of his career so far has been a loss in the AFC Championship game. And Brady had a stretch there where he went 8 years without a title, and that could still happen to Mahomes. There could come a point starting next year. I mean, it could even happen this year. I mean, if they lose the Super Bowl, and there's no givens. I mean, he may not be back for a while. None of us think that or expect that, but nobody expected that with Brady either, to go that long without a championship, and then he starts winning them again, and they become a little more regular. So a lot of things can still play out, but at this point in his career, he is farther along where he is than where Brady was at this point in his career. And I'll say that. So he is on the road to becoming the true GOAT of the NFL, no question about that. He's been unbelievable.
Well, sure, I'm getting a repeat of the Super Bowl from a couple years ago, Jalen Hurts versus Patrick Mahomes. Hurts had such that amazing season, played really well in that Super Bowl, did have a huge blunder in it. So just talk about the rematch and the Eagles' chances in this one against the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm headed there on Sunday, and it'll be my 30th Super Bowl. And I can't say that I'm fired up for this one. And maybe it's just because we just had this matchup because the Chiefs again. Everybody's getting that. If you're not a Chiefs fan, you sort of have that Chiefs saturation point of, let's get somebody else in there. And that's kind of where I am too. So I'm really excited about it. Probably will be by game time, just because I do think these teams match up very well. And I do think it's going to be a really good game, and I do think that the Eagles have a really good chance. Their defense is way better than it was the last time these two teams played in the Super Bowl, way better. And I think that's going to help them. They've got to be able to force some turnovers. The Bills did that once, and they took advantage of Mahomes' fumble with a touchdown drive, but they needed to do it a little bit more than that. And I think that's going to be key for the Eagles is to make some stops of Mahomes, but also to get some short fields, get some turnovers. But that Eagles defense is really, really, now the Chiefs defense is really good too. Probably the best defense that the Eagles have played this season. So they're going to have a tough road too. So I just expect this to be a really great game that's going to come down to the end. Whether I'm excited for the build-up or not, I think in the end, on game day, it's going to be a really good game.
Charean, we've got about 30, 40 seconds here. How about tonight's game, A&M, Oklahoma, after what happened this past weekend against Texas and also what happened against Ole Miss? It's just a roller coaster type ride with a team that should be really good regardless.
Yeah, no question about it. And you remember how the Oklahoma game came down the last time. I think they're going to be really good tonight after letting the Texas game slip away. I think they're going to come out and be fired up, and I think they're going to win this one.
Charean, appreciate you. I don't know if we'll talk next week. I'll text you, but look forward to hearing from you soon.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Charean Williams there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll have a short segment on the other side. You're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. It is the final segment of the program. We call it TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go back to the Angry Elephant Social News and Social Center. Excuse me. Reed Neal's there. Reed, please. I'm kidding. Give us something. I was trying to be clever. It didn't work.
No, I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're just being nice because I'm your boss. That's okay.
So tonight, lots of high scores on Oklahoma's team. We have Duke Miles, Jalen Moore, and Jeremiah Fears are our top three. Jeremiah Fears and Jalen Moore shoot 18 points per game, then Jeremiah Fears shoots 16 or averages 16 points per game. One player I do think we need to look out for is Duke Miles.
You were telling me his numbers at the break. That guy really brings it.
So he only averages 11 points per game, but he's 51 from the paint and 43 from the three-point line. And
okay, that's what scares me. That number right there.
Yeah, because I remember the Alabama game when we let I forgot his name, number one, go loose at the three-point line, and that's what killed us.
There's always a guy that seems to hit threes against A&M.
Yes.
What is Goodine, who hit, what was it, 8 threes against A&M? What is his average on the year from the three?
From the three, he hasn't even hit double digits since he played us.
Well, he hadn't hit double digits before.
Yeah.
He had played. I think he had scored 12 points combined in like the 4 games leading up to it.
His stats against, did you want for the year or just
just for the year? What is he shooting from three? Because he hit like everyone ever in that game. So if you have it, no big deal if you don't.
42.7
average.
Look at Nicky on the spot.
It's Kate.
Did he beat me to it?
42.7. Yeah. Wow. So if you shoot three, if he's your third option or fourth option on the court to hit threes, you might hit some threes against A&M. So that is the thing. There was one other thing you wanted to touch on.
Lots of talk on TexAgs about how this year A&M has been a one-half team. We either overperform in the first half or the second half. Obviously, we would like to overperform the whole game, but if it were up to you, would you rather
second half?
So okay,
finish the game strong, and I think they've been more of a second half team than they have because they play really well as Hunted coming back. No lead is safe with them, which worries me. But an opponent's lead is never safe with Texas A&M Reed. Good job, buddy. All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Live as I hear the music in the background getting louder and louder. It's like the Grammys. They don't want me to keep talking, but I'm going to keep on talking because I got 3, 2, 1. See you.